So welcome everyone. Thanks for coming out, or well, I guess joining on screen, anyways. And so I guess we just want to go around and introduce ourselves. I don't know exactly how we're going to do it. So I guess if someone talks over someone else thinking they're going, I guess we'll just have to figure it out from there. So I guess I'll just go first. Name's Joseph Latshaw. I'm up in New Jersey, and I'm part of the leadership team for CBFA. So yeah, it's just great to see everyone today. I guess if someone else wants to go next.
Joseph, why don't you just call on people as you see them on your screen, since everyone's in different order on different screens.
I like the idea. All right. Well, okay. So you're next, Jack. Then.
I'm Jack Lowe. I live in Bethesda, Maryland, and I'm the former president of the CBFA. And I've been interested in flags for my entire life, since I started drawing them when I was about 11 years old.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So next up is R.M. Walsh. If I have that right. There.
Who may be muted.
I don't think he's muted. His little mute symbol is not on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can come back around. Anthony Iasso, you're up.
Yep. Hey everybody, I'm Anthony Iasso. I'm one of the work with Joseph and Charlie as leadership for CBFA, and my area of interest is American flags, antique American flags, and I live in Middleburg, Virginia.
All right. Peter.
Hi, Peter Ansoff. I'm in Annandale, Virginia. I am the past president of NAVA, the North American Vexillological Association. Our current president is here also, fortunately. My special interest is in Revolutionary War flags, and I'm always on the lookout for more information about that.
All right. Next up, we have Tom Ferris.
Yeah, Tom Forrest. I'm in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I've always had a general interest in flags. And a couple of years ago, when I joined NAVA, I really got into the flag design and the design forum. So that's been my real focus for the last couple of years.
All right. Next up, excuse me if I guess I'll just apologize in advance if I mispronounce some names. But Luca Daigle, if that's correct, please correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, okay. So if you guys look in that chat, he's introducing himself. So we might come back to that. Dale, if you want to go.
Dale Grimes. I live in Spears Point, Maryland, and my primary focus is World War II U.S. Navy flags. And I hope to show a PowerPoint about some flags I acquired recently.
Yeah, we definitely have you on the docket today, so we'll can't wait to hear it. Sam, Septembre, I guess, and your son there. If you guys want to introduce yourselves, both of you.
I'm Gray, kind of like the color. I'm Gray Septembre, and I'm a certified vexillologist at the age of 11, and I know every flag known to me.
I think that might be self-certified, but he is pretty good. And I, just like any dad would do, find whatever my kid finds interesting. And so we do flags. So we don't have any special interests in anything. We have tons and tons of flags, and we'd love to hang out at the flag store through Rick and Georgia Wyatt. They've been really sweet and just letting us roam around the store, and we walk out with $100 worth of flags every day.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, welcome. It's great to have more and more young people, so that's great. Stan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Certainly. Thank you.
Stan Contradas. I live in the southern part of Dale City, which is right above, more or less, Quantico, Virginia, if you're familiar with the area. I am the present serving president of NAVA, and it's great to be part of today's meeting and see everybody here. A lot of longtime friends and lots of new faces, so this is terrific. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, Stan. Next up, we have Logan Warlick.
Hey guys, my name's Logan Warlick. I'm from, I live in a town outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. And I would say my interest in flags is like international countries, their flags, and political groups around the world, foreign and domestic, very politically based. So.
Great. Is this your first CBFA meeting, or?
Yes, it is. I've been meaning to get to some, but the Zoom ones are the ones I can do. Yeah.
Great. Welcome. All right. Next up, we have Catherine.
She's muted. Oh, there you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Walker. Can y'all hear me, first of all?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm in DC. This is my first chapter meeting for this group, but I've been calling in. Stan and Peter have probably seen me a couple times in NAVA meetings. They can't get rid of me. And my interest for flags is mostly global flags, like national level flags. I have this coffee table book that I flip through pretty regularly. So yeah, super excited to be here with all of y'all. Thanks.
Welcome. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have John Emond.
Yeah. Good morning.
I'm sorry.
Not at all. That's fine. Good morning, everybody. My name is John Emond. I retired from NASA in 2011. I'd like to echo the sentiment of what was said about feds. It's kind of nice to be a retiree looking out because it's nuts. Clearly the topic at hand, flags. I've had a general passion for history in which flags are clearly an integral part of it. So in my pursuit of interest in the American Revolution and Civil War, I'm very interested in the role that flags played in those engagements and in historical flags in general.
Great, thank you.
Oh, and I also have did you get my images for the Festival of Flags?
Yes, I got you on that. Yeah, and you'll be the first one to go.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, next up we have Parker.
Parker. I'm 13 and I like flags. I like world flags. My mom's from Poland, so we always go and I have this.
Beautiful flag.
Welcome. Yeah.
And nice I'm Alexandria, Virginia.
Great. All right, Al, you're up next.
Al Cavallari. I live mostly in the Hudson River Valley near a little government engineering school called West Point that Anthony knows all about. And I'm coming to you today from Philadelphia, where I split my time, where I volunteer for the National Park Service at Independence Hall. And my interest in flags was mostly commercial, because I was in the flag business for 40 years. We sold that a couple of years ago to my cousins. That's called the Flag Guys. And as far as types of flags, I'm very interested in flags from American history, especially the Revolution. And that's my story.
All right. Next up, I think we might know from a podcast, Andy, if you want to go.
Yeah, hey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, hi, I'm Andy Richardson. I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But yeah, I run a podcast called Flagged for Content that a few of you know, a few of you have seen at the last couple NAVAs, but I had Joseph on as my most recent guest that came out last week. So I can post the link in the chat at some point. But yeah, my interest is basically, well, collecting for one, for sure. And just playing little flag games and interviewing interesting people. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah. All right, Nick Artimovich, if you want to talk a little bit.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm coming to you from Augusta, Georgia. That may seem a little bit outside the Chesapeake Bay area, but I was a resident of Columbia, Maryland for about 45 years and was one of the founders of CBFA way back in the 20th century. I've been a member of NAVA since 1974, and I'm a past president of both CBFA and NAVA. And my founding interest is in collecting flags, particularly anything obsolete. Started with antique American flags like Anthony. His collection far surpasses mine, but you'll see some of my collection today in the presentation on advertising flags. But I also got into collecting obsolete foreign flags, so I have quite a range of outdated national ensigns from around the world, from the late 1800s up to the end of the 20th century.
Great. That sounds so interesting. I think it was what was it, last summer we visited Anthony's place there and saw a lot of those flags. So I'm sure if we ever to maybe take a I don't know how long that drive would be, but maybe we come by your place one time, check out your flags.
I would love to have you down here. If you ever want to go to the Masters in Augusta, if you're lucky enough to get tickets, you're welcome to stop by here.
Yeah. All right. Next up, have Christopher Bedwell introduce.
Hey guys, hey everybody, good morning. My name's Chris Bedwell. I live in Washington, D.C., been a NAVA member since I think 2005, past second vice president, past treasurer. My interests include, similar to Nick's, obsolete flags, subnational flags and things like that, and just a general flag collector. I'm also co-author of Canadian city flags, which we can boast is currently in the top 4,491,348 place on the Amazon bestseller list. And yeah, just great to see everybody today.
Thanks for joining. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Bryan Firvido. Is that correct? All right.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, good morning. Bryan Martin Firvido, here from also in the District of Columbia. And I guess wife gifted me a membership several years ago to NAVA, and this is my first CPFB or CBF first Chesapeake meeting. They often seem to conflict with my scouting commitments, so which is where I spend a lot of my volunteer time. I would say general flag interests of personal connections, friends, family, and it just has grown to a couple of hundred flags from there. So.
Sure. Yeah. Welcome. Yeah. You're not the only one that you have a scouting conflict. I won't be able to go to Seattle because I have to go to wood badge training. So.
Oh. Well, as a participant or as staff?
Participant. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, start thinking about your ticket. Happy to help.
Oh yeah.
And I think Stan, you're also big into scouting, aren't you? Stan Contreras.
At one point in time, I was, Chris. Now, with what I'm doing, I'm usually supporting scouts that are getting their Eagle badge. And as a matter of fact, we have one already in the mix. She is a wonderful young lady, just turned 17 and working on her Eagle at the Coast Guard repository where I work. So,
wow, that's great.
Very cool.
Joseph,
are you Baltimore area council?
No, so I'm all the way up in New Jersey. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm down here at the National Capital Area Council, which covers DC, Maryland, kind of like and Northern Virginia. And so not only am I a scoutmaster, but I also have the pleasure of sitting on our board of directors. So
and the Eagle Scout I've got's probably under your wing there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also have a Eagle Scout daughter. So yeah, there
you go.
So there we are.
Yeah, great. Welcome. All right, so we just have two more people. So I know introductions can be somewhat, tedious, but I think it's important. think he's been on a few times. A good friend of CBFA, John Andrews. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm John Andrews. I live in central New Jersey. My original research was on the flag of Iraq. I spent about 3 years on that. And then in the early 2020s, I wanted to transition into methodology. I started poking around with a digital methodology based on text and flags, ready to write my paper. And then AI dropped into our lap and literally just disintegrated all of my research. So I've been basically picking everything together for the last 2 years, trying to get back on track with that. I'm a law student too, so that eats up all of my basic bandwidth is eaten up with law school right now. So I cannot wait to graduate and move on and get back to flags, which I care infinitely more about than torts and contracts. My presentation today is on the flags related to Donald Trump and Trump political flags.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, even if you got some other things you've got to deal with. Presentations are always great. All right, so next up, Zachary Gardiner, if you want to introduce yourself.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Zachary Gardiner. I live currently in Hershey, Pennsylvania, but I'm originally from Annapolis, Maryland. I actually have here a Lego Maryland flag that my girlfriend got for me for my birthday. So I have that behind me. But I'm currently a student at the University of South Carolina, studying chemical engineering. So that takes up most of my time. But when I can, I look at flags.
And we should mention that Zachary is a winner of the Driver Award for the best presentation at the NAVA meeting in Philadelphia a few years ago.
Yeah, I presented on the Maryland flag. I figured being from there, I was pretty interested in it.
It was a really, really great presentation. Yeah. All right, so I guess the last person to go, Avanti Baruki, if that's correct. Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, you said right. Thank you. Hi, guys.
Oh, there we go. Hey.
My nickname is Atlas because I like geography so much. I'm from New Jersey, and greetings to you, brother statesmen. And I've always had an interest in flags ever since I could remember. And my main interests are Revolutionary War flags, American flags, state and territorial flags, and international flags as well. That says a lot. And also I have a good curiosity on crests and seals and things like that. And it's great to be here. And thank you so much for facilitating the forum, you guys.
Yeah, happy to have you. All right, I guess that's introduction. So I guess everyone knows I mean, I know we all know each other in some parts, but there's some new people. So I wanted to, thanks for Jack for recommending we do it. And thank goodness you told me to do it the way we did it. All right, so I guess we're going to go into just a short business portion of the meeting. So Anthony, do you want to talk about it a bit? I don't want to monopolize the meeting here.
Sure, no worries, Joseph.
I can share the screen if that's all right.
Yeah, why don't we share the screen? So, as those of you know, we've talked in previous meetings, and even from the introductions here, obviously, we have an illustrious NAVA current and former leadership part of our group here. One of the things we talked about in the past was CBFA registering as an affiliate of NAVA. In between the last meeting and this meeting, we reached out and got information back on what the affiliate relationship is structured like, and you can see here the information that we received back. So one of the things that we are always trying to do is make our group more accessible to more people. So it's great to see more people on the call today. We were talking before the meeting started about how the different forums we have between Zoom meetings and in-person meetings and event gatherings has been really helpful, because some of you might find it more challenging to make some of the events than others. But the NAVA affiliate, as you can see from the information here, it gets us some information we would exchange with NAVA in terms of being able to submit summaries of our meetings to NAVA for inclusion in the magazine, some access to the NAVA Zoom account, and then also maybe get to know some of the other affiliate groups around the country a little bit better. And as you can see, there's no legal governance or financial connections between the group. But still, it's a good collaborative forum. And we can submit our quarterly reports and become more involved in the national flag activities. So what we're recommending and what we plan on doing is registering CBFA as an affiliate. If anybody has any questions or any thoughts on that, we'd be glad to have the discussion. But this is what we found, and so like I said, we're always looking for ways to take CBFA as an organization and make it a place where people can come and have these types of meetings and stay current on flags and their interest in it. But also, it's a big world out there, as you all know, and this can help us, broaden and deepen our relationship with NAVA. So, does anybody have any questions on the affiliate relationship and NAVA? Or Stan, did you want to add anything about the benefits of affiliate partnership?
Sure. Just in case anyone has any concerns or what have you, I'm here to address them. But there's no expectation on the part of NAVA as far as what CBFA may want to do with the organization or not do. So what really CBFA would get out of this is, I think, two things. One is the ability to use the different platforms that NAVA provides to get CBFA information and activities and things out there, be able to recruit new members from the database that NAVA has of all of its membership, and of course to use one of the literal platforms, the ability to use the Zoom platform that NAVA has in case there's ever an issue that CBFA has with paying for a membership. So just a couple things. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Al's got his hand raised on the Zoom if he goes first, and then I guess we'll get to John second.
Yeah, you're looking for thoughts. It's all upside. I think it's absolutely something we should do. There's no downside to it, and thanks for looking into it.
Yeah. All right. John Emond, you can go.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. I was thinking that as the governing board may want to at times gain insight, not just where you may be focusing as a board, but to really get feedback from different parts of the country and sometimes elsewhere, if there's an international aspect. I think CBFA can be really useful in providing feedback to the governing board if there's something that CBFA identifies as an opportunity or a concern or whatever. That may be a really nice way to channel that so the board gets really good feedback from a subset of their overall membership. It's a channel of communication, not only down, but back up to the board that may be very insightful and really provide good feedback on how something, as they say, an opportunity or a challenge may resonate with CBFA, and by bringing it to the board, may reflect other areas that have a similar feeling, but don't have that channel of communication that being an affiliate has.
Yeah, I agree. And, one thing, John, too, is we do a lot of activities at CBFA. We've structured our organization, like we mentioned before, in different venues and different forums, different topics. And and also there's other groups in the country that are doing, similar type things. So I think that, other affiliates, we may see some things that they're doing also that are of interest to us as well, and could lead to, topics, or maybe some having somebody from one of the other affiliates maybe present at one of our meetings and some of these other kinds of things. So I think that, anything that strengthens flag knowledge and exchange is good for our group and good for the hobby and this fascinating area of study, right, that we enjoy so much. So Nick, you had a question?
Yeah. As I was with CBFA from the very beginning, we did contact NAVA about the local groups being chapters of NAVA. It seems they had some legal questions about that, about affiliation and what we might do to negatively affect NAVA. Sounds like after 30 years, they finally figured out we're not a threat after all.
Yeah, and I think that given the structure of the affiliate relationship, when we looked at it and reviewed it, that we just saw positives in that, and that's the reason why we're bringing it to the group today. So, yeah. And are there any other questions? I don't see if there's other hands up. So, okay.
All right.
Well, with that, yeah. We'll keep the group posted now as we take next steps here, and we're going to be working with NAVA to, see what's involved with, kind of formalizing this and then putting that as part of our plan going forward. But that was one of the business topics that we wanted to cover with the group here today. So, Joseph, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I think again, like we said, like Anthony said, we'll give you updates as we go along, and I think it'll be a good thing. So, all right. So I guess we're just going to get into the stuff, why we're here, why we do all of this, talking flags. And so we're going to skip ahead to a Vexibit from John Emond about the Royal Caribbean, what he called the Royal Caribbean Parade of Flags. And I'm just going to, I forgot to pull up the email with his PowerPoint here. So I'm going to get that real quick so he can talk through it. So apologies as I go get it.
Joseph, while you're doing that, I just want to do a shout out to both Anthony and to Stan. Anthony, you were very gracious in inviting us to your home, and that is an unbelievable pedigree of flag-related collection. It was just really amazing. I'm very grateful for you providing that. And Stan, that Coast Guard repository was really quite fascinating as well. And again, many thanks for having CBFA members visit it. It was really quite a fascinating tour.
Yes, perfect, wonderful.
Super. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah. So my wife and I in January were on Vision of the Seas, Royal Caribbean to the Caribbean. And one of the things I really want to admire about what that cruise ship did, two things. One was a special event that held a recognition of servicemen and women, both active and especially for those who may have passed on in the line of duty. And it was really very poignant. The second thing they provided during the course of the cruise, and what I'm highlighting here, was what they call an International Parade of Flags. And it was really, the point being, as I'll mention in one of the upcoming images, there were some 70 nations represented by staff members, the crew, and all the supportive staff on Vision of the Seas. And this was a day to recognize all of the nations represented by their workforce. And as the subsequent slides will show, there are only a handful. It really felt quite literally like an Olympics opening ceremony, where as people were coming down that walkway, and then as individual flags were highlighted, that nation's flag was mentioned by an individual from that country. So it was really a wonderful, wonderful visual experience. So what I'll show in the next few images are just some of the examples. So you see at the very beginning with almost like the host nation, you've got the American flag at the front of this parade. And then as others come down that walkway, and would you be controlling the slides or would I control it here? Okay, then yeah, get the next one. On the left, you've got the cruise director kind of reading a proclamation of the of this event, and then highlighting individual flags as one of the flag bearers would walk across the platform with that flag in hand. And you'll see that going on in the next couple of images. So the next image. The other thing I really like is this was not just the uniform body of leaders of the Vision of the Seas. You had representatives in this flag parade. Everybody, you've got a chef or a cook on the right-hand side. You had other individuals as well. So it was really inclusive of all ranks and file on board the ship. And I thought that was great. It wasn't just designated individuals of a outreach part of the ship's complement. It literally was representative of people from all kinds of backgrounds. So you've got the three different examples there. I think the first one was maybe Mexico, the U.S. and Great Britain. Next one. This is fascinating. You also had a bit of culture on the left. I'm not sure on the right, but on the left, this gentleman was very colorfully decorated with his face paint and his shirt. And I came up to him afterwards and I said, I really appreciated his doing that. And he said he was very grateful because his culture, I believe this is Fiji, his culture means a lot to him. And he really enjoyed the opportunity of being in a bit of a costume of his country's cultural history. So that was really nice. Next one, please. And just other examples, you see the one on the left and the one on the right, they literally got a lot of visibility as they were bringing their flag across the stage platform and their particular nation's flag was called out. Next one. And then just to wrap up, this shows again, kind of at the end, we had all of these flags on display, and it really truly felt like an Olympic opening ceremony. And it was really, really nicely representative of all these individuals in all their countries. And as the cruise director indicated, as everybody on board the ship representing 70 countries worked together for a common goal, she kind of expressed a desire to see more of that in the world at large, having appreciation for the diversity of flags and countries and background, and really recognizing, though, the common threads that bind everybody together as well. So it was a wonderful visual experience as a special event for the cruise. Thank you.
Great, thank you, John. That was actually quite wonderful. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if that would entertain any questions. If anyone has them.
Oh, sure.
You know,
if anybody has any questions.
Has anything.
John, you came for the cruise, but you stayed for the flags.
Well, I really like, in addition to what is usually on board any cruise ship, if you're familiar, there's always bingo, etc. But I like the fact they did two things that I had not seen before. One was really poignant on honoring members. They actually had members of the military come up on stage, and it was as much a memorial as it was appreciating active service. That was a standout, and this was a standout. I had not seen we've been on a number of cruises, I had not seen that kind of inclusivity and visual bringing together of countries as they did in that event. I thought that was outstanding.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
what cruise was that again?
Vision of the Seas. It actually sails out of Baltimore. They do a number of Caribbean cruises in this time of year, but it was a round trip right out of Baltimore, so it was really handy to do that.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
You know, if I could add just real quick, I mean, from a flag history perspective, one thing is ships have always been carriers of colors for other nations as well. Like we've stocked Navy ships and other American vessels with flags of all different countries, so that when we enter ports, you know, we'll fly the flag as well of the country that we may be entering. And also there's 19th century paintings of flags hanging from ships where they put them all up. I mean,
Mhm.
all different colors from different countries for different celebrations and different things. So there's a real interesting ties between flags and maritime, as far as a way of cultural exchange and also respecting different countries. And so it's great to see that. How was it received, John, by the other folks on the cruise?
Oh, outstanding. Anthony, first of all, I want to say you make an excellent point. I didn't mention it. When we were at different ports of call, they absolutely flew that country's flag in addition to the American flag. In addition, if the cruise line originated like in Holland America out of Amsterdam, that flag would be flown as well. But every port of call that was in another country, they were flying the flag of that country. Thanks for bringing that up. Oh, I got a standing ovation. Everybody really appreciated the color, but also the symbolism of a coming together and having all of these people proudly, who are members of the crew, proudly carrying their country's flag. So it got a cheering standing ovation. I mean, it was really, really well received.
All right, I think Tom, you have something to say?
Yeah, it's a sidebar there. A couple of years ago, I did sail on the Vision of the Seas, and my cabin was 2020. So I have 2020 Vision of the Seas.
Very good.
All right, that was very interesting, John. So thank you. All right, so I guess we're gonna. So the plan today, I think, is we're gonna start with Vexibit, go to a presentation, and might go back and forth, for some variety. So if Dale, if you want to pull up your slideshow and share it, he's going to talk about some of his recent acquisitions of World War II Admiral flags made at Mare Island, some blood chits and rescue flags, and some other things. Yeah. So take it away.
All right, it says sharing is not turned on, send request. So I clicked on send request.
I should be receiving it. I'm not.
Request has been sent.
All right. There's always the awkward pause is inevitable here, right? That's there's always something.
It came up on mine, Joseph, so I just allowed Dale.
Oh, sure. Great.
Have you got it, Dale?
Can you see it?
No.
Guys, maybe while we're waiting, I have a very quick show and tell. A Vexibits filler, I guess you could say, a flag that I acquired. Unless we're ready to go.
Have at it.
Oh, okay, great. So I acquired this a month or so ago. This is a flag. It's the 100-year anniversary of Washington State, and they had some kind of a commemorative flag that I saw online, and I bought it. It's very nicely made. I can't get the whole thing in the picture, I don't think. Let's see.
I think it's nicer than their state flag.
Yeah, it is. It was really neat. And yeah, and it's very nicely made. It's all sewn and everything. And yeah, so I snatched it up.
Was that from 1989?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it even has a seal on it, which the seal itself is embroidered.
Double-sided.
Yeah.
So the seal anyway.
It's correctly on both sides, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Thanks, Chris. All right, so Dale, we're seeing your screen. You just got to get to your PowerPoint there. So, yeah. So we're almost there.
Can you see it now?
Looks like it's loading maybe, but we can see your screen, just not necessarily your presentation yet. Yeah.
It says you are screen sharing. I clicked on slideshow.
All right. So you know what, Dale, for just right now, what we're gonna do, we'll come back to you. So what we're
Okay.
gonna do is if you pull up your PowerPoint, on your screen.
Yeah, it's up right now.
All right. Well, it's not shown to us, so
Yeah.
maybe we could try it this way. It should be popping up on your screen to request remote
Yeah.
control.
All right. So I'm gonna click approve.
Yeah. So let's see if we can do that.
I can see the Dale's screen tab on top of ours, if that helps. You have a meeting tab, and then there's a tab that says Dale screen. At least I can see that.
Same here.
I just see the Zoom window.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Dale,
same
I see
here.
your email
I see the
address, so
Zoom.
you may have. Do you have two monitors? You may need to, or you may be sharing just your browser screen, not your whole desktop.
It may be worth to turn off the sharing, get the slides up on your screen, and then share again.
Okay.
So Joseph, if we need more Vexibit fillers, I have 1,100 flags in my collection, and I can just start getting them out.
Let's see, doing 3 a minute will be done by Thursday next week.
That's right.
Only 1,100? I thought you were over that.
Well, I had to cut back. I mean, you can only do so much with a 1,200 square foot house,
I think you have to reach 1,500 to be a true aficionado.
Yes.
Sam, does Gray have a flag that he would like to show today to the group?
I was thinking
that
the
he
same
designed?
thing. Or Parker, maybe.
I was a flag of NAVA. I don't know.
Are you a member?
Yeah.
Hey.
Excellent.
This.
When did you become a member of NAVA?
I think in January, like a
Excuse
few
me?
January, like.
Oh, you're very new.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Great. We're so happy to see you.
Yes, I was pretty happy. And then I found this. So
Great.
Where do you live, Parker?
Alexandria, Virginia, like right outside of DC.
And do you know about the programs that NAVA has for kids?
Yeah.
Good.
Joined those too.
Have you been in any of those Zoom meetings?
I've been in one or two.
Excellent.
Gray has a flag.
Yeah, I have a custom flag I made. I have a ton of other flags, but this is one that stood out unique.
Make that.
Let's see it.
It's the Bay Boys. I think it's the Chesapeake. Is it the Blues? What is it?
What are the Bay Boys?
It's a group of fans for a soccer team here in Annapolis.
Soccer team, like is it like
One of the founders.
like Little League baseball for soccer, or is it for older people?
It's it's just like it's a U19 or it's kind of like it's not like Little
What's the
League.
name of the
It's
team? What's the name of the team?
Annapolis Blues, and they're yeah, it's just a soccer team. It's like
They play at
a
the Naval
regular
Academy
soccer team.
Stadium.
So is that a flag that they asked you to design,
Or did you
He didn't design it,
No, I didn't design this one.
but he designed one
But-
based on this that we're having come soon.
Yeah, I can show you that.
That you ordered.
So Gray, what's the symbology on that flag? It looked like there were some cutlasses and
Yeah, hold it up.
crab in the center, and
There's the crab on it, and then there is
So you can see it. Hold up so you can see. Yeah.
here, you can do it.
Can I talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's getting a little embarrassed.
Oh, no, not at all. Don't be. Don't
yeah,
be.
that's great.
Yeah.
So it looked like there was like some swords on the side, like cutlasses, and then a ship's wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So yeah, there's just there's a pirate theme, I guess, and there's a couple pieces, and then the crab skull.
Yeah, if that's a
Cool.
sports team, they play for keeps.
And the colors are the Blues team, and they're like it's like a bunch of college kids that can't play pro that play for college teams, and this is a way for them to play. So they play against. There's a whole group of all kinds of stuff. So.
Cool.
All right, great.
Thanks for showing.
All right, so while Dale tries to fix out the PowerPoint, I think we're gonna try to move on to the next presentation just to kind of keep things moving. Nick, I guess you've got a presentation on some flags and advertising. So that sounds like an interesting topic.
Yes, I do.
All right, so I don't know if if you want to get
Screen
going.
sharing.
Yeah. So maybe
yeah. Let me know when you see it.
Oh, there we go. We got you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me see if I can get full screen here. Okay. We ready? Okay, good. All righty. Well, today I'd like to share this presentation on the use of the American flag as a promotional device to attract the viewer's attention to a cause or a product. And I'll show examples from the early 19th century, from the Civil War era itself through the nation's centennial. I'll highlight trade cards, cigar labels, and flags themselves made with advertising on them, and print advertisements featuring the American flag. Now, the Stars and Stripes have been part of commercial advertising since the Civil War. Politicians, however, recognized the value of associating themselves with the flag 2 decades earlier. The campaign of 1840 was one of the earliest to make extensive use of the American flag in campaigning. This silk ribbon with a canton of 26 stars includes the slogan "American Republicans" printed across the stripes. This was one of the names used by the Know Nothing Party, or American nativists, who were opposed primarily to the influx of Europeans from Italy and Ireland. Their use of the flag was meant to show that they were the true Americans. Campaigns of 1860 used the flag to highlight sectional conflicts between the North and the South. The campaign ribbon on the left proclaims that the Union must and shall be preserved. The ballot, or ticket, on the right was for the electors of Abraham Lincoln, another strong supporter of the existing Union of States. Now, patriotic envelopes were also used to support the Northern cause to maintain the Union. Here, the candidate Abraham Lincoln says, "Whatever our politics, the Constitution must be sustained." Now, this patriotic cover was one of the early examples of many to be printed for Americans to express their patriotism. Printers came up with many different designs, many featuring the Stars and Stripes. This Union cover even includes the Boston designer and engraver's name, lest anyone need his skills for future work. This envelope, promoting the Philadelphia Evening Journal, published by Carr and Elliott, added George Washington's portrait to the 34 stars in the canton. They used the same design on this large poster, which includes their address on South 3rd Street in Philly. Out of curiosity, Al should be interested in this, I used Google Maps and found out that the location is directly across from the Museum of the American Revolution that many of us visited a few years ago during NAVA 57. The Cincinnati Times was another newspaper that used its large presses to make a patriotic poster advertising their views. and it was quite a display of some very interesting and colorful fonts that were available to other customers. Other businesses also waved the flag. Now, here you have a modest two-color flag on a New York confectioner's billhead. But this Philadelphia merchant, a cotton merchant, needed to go one step further and plaster the stars and stripes across the entire top of his billhead. A.H. Franciscus and Company had its main office right in the middle of what is now Independence Mall. The nonprofit Cooper's Shop Refreshment Saloon used the stars and stripes on its receipts for goods that were bought for the tens of thousands of Union soldiers who were transiting Philadelphia on their way to war. They had no problem placing their name across the stripes of the flag itself. The flag, of course, violates today's United States flag code. Maybe that is why the location of the Cooper shop is now under Interstate Route 95. The Civil War patriotic covers I mentioned earlier were sold both to Northerners who wanted to write to their sons and husbands fighting to preserve the Union, but packets of envelopes and letter sheets were sold to the soldiers way down south so they could fill their spare time keeping their families informed of their marches. The flags here represented the colorful designs to be found inside. About 10 years after our nation was torn apart by the Civil War, the 100th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence was a step in bringing us back together, and the flag was again used to promote businesses. Demarest's Young America magazine or newspaper started early with an insert of 3 flags to be cut apart and glued to a stick. I can't really say how effective this was since I've only seen one other single example at auction some years ago. The Hop Bitters Company used paper flag advertisements the same way. The stripes are covered with fantastic claims of curative powers, and the hoist reads, "Keep this for the children." The Hop Bitters Company also produced these tiny blotters as advertising giveaways. The size is only 2 by 3 inches, but manages to pack a lot of information on the stripes and heading. Many promotional items were made to celebrate the centennial itself, including this overprinted cotton flag of 38 stars. This was likely made for sale at the 1876 World's Fair itself, as was this paper fan with the eagle and shield perched above the flags of 1776 and 1876. The reverse happens to show a scene from the fair. And you may have noticed that the flag of 1776 was not quite historically accurate. I'm sorry. Let's go back one. There we go. Okay. Not only was a 13-star flag adopted the year after the Declaration of Independence was signed, the star pattern shown here was not in use in the 18th century, according to Grace Cooper's research. Another souvenir from the World's Fair was this international flag of 39 stars surrounded by flags of the nations that participated in the Philadelphia Exposition. The reason I include that flag is because the same design was used on trade cards advertising various products and services, including a plumber and a flag maker. Interesting, the flag on these trade cards bears only 38 stars, which corresponds to the number of states in the Union after Colorado was admitted in August of 1876. The Philadelphia Exposition was also the subject of this ad leaflet by the B&O Railroad. Inside was information on the scenic routes one could travel on this railroad, and the back cover showed the British red ensign with the date 1776 in the canton. By 1880, merchants were making good use of the flag from promoting products and even political candidates. The Providence Evening Standard used their presses for trade cards featuring the stars and the stripes. The presidential campaign of that year saw James Garfield run against Winfield Scott Hancock. If you were a merchant, you did not have to take sides by favoring one candidate over the other. 8 years later, the campaign of 1888 had Republican Benjamin Harrison running, and he made extensive use of the American flag in his campaign. The New Jersey clothing store handed out these cards. The Democratic candidate, incumbent President Grover Cleveland, featured a distinctive red bandana in his campaign material, and advertisers picked up on that as well. This envelope of the same year used a familiar format to advertise a drama titled New Bern or the Old Flag. I'm not sure how popular that play was, but I don't think it ever made it to Broadway. Now here's a totally different format using the American flag. It is a label affixed to the lid of a wood box of crackers. Now, their building still exists in downtown Philadelphia, a few blocks north of City Hall. Trade cards were one of the most prevalent forms of advertising in the United States from around 1875 to 1900. They had their origin in England in the 1700s with tradesmen advertising their wares. The advent of lithography in the 1870s made it possible to mass produce them in color. This early example may be from the Civil War era or shortly thereafter. The card from Connecticut for Yankees, this card is from Connecticut and advertises Yankee soap, and it features a 36-star flag. The Baltimore Oyster Company added the bald eagle to a panoply of flags. This card from Chicago features a 38-star flag, but adds a background to the advertisement rather than being the ad itself. This presages the patriotic trade cards of the late 1800s. Now, these cards use the stripes to detail the virtues of their products. The United States Playing Card Company also uses a beautiful 18-star design in their canton, while the Jay Gould's Picture Store of Boston goes a step further and places their entire advertising campaign across the stripes of a 37-star American flag, which was appropriate from the late 1860s to 1876. Note that the medallion pattern of stars are all 8-pointed, which leads me to believe that it was either designed or printed in Europe. The use of the American flag as a bold graphic element of trade cards was limited, and many of these cards are very scarce today. But the range of products that fly the flag is amazing, from fertilizer to sewing machines to ham to shredded coconut. Other designs place the flag on the front and the advertising content is on the reverse so that the stars and stripes are not marred by the ad. This particular card can be dated to 1896, as it notes the flag now includes a star for the new state of Utah. In some cards from the later 1800s, we find a greater emphasis on a respectful presentation of the American flag, with the advertising playing second fiddle. Now here's the first of 3 larger cards with beautiful flag graphics. This one caters to the ladies by featuring Betsy Ross, as well as shoes named after her. This card from the Old West Tent and Awning Company features the Whipple flag of 48 stars, where the central great star pattern represents the original 13 colonies. The inner circle of stars account for the 25 states that joined the Union up to our nation's centennial year, and the outer ring are stars for the 10 states that joined between 1876 and 1912. Now, the third card shows the first standardized star pattern that was established by President Taft's executive order in 1912. Although technically the order only applied to flags purchased by government agencies, U.S. flag makers quickly standardized on that pattern. And furthermore, this card is unusual in that it offers a free American flag with purchase of Wrigley's gum. This is an example of advertising scheme that would eventually be seen as being disrespectful to our nation's flag and eventually phased out. It was in the very late 19th century that Americans began to see the use of the flag in political and commercial advertising as inappropriate. A Supreme Court case in 1905 determined that a state law could indeed be enforced to prohibit the flag to be used on a bottle of beer. Gradually, other forms of product promotion stopped using the flag. This pair of trade cards on the left shows kittens on parade, initially carrying American flags, and later the stars and stripes were replaced by plain colored banners in respect for our national symbol. Packaging changed as well. Old Glory fruits and flag brand cans both initially used the stars and stripes, but those labels eventually phased out the American flag, in one case at least by substituting the company banner. This is a good segue to a quick discussion of cigar box labels. This outer box label for Royal Blue cigars includes crossed flags above the scene of Spanish-American war generals discussing strategy, no doubt. The same label was altered to omit the flags so as not to run afoul of any state laws against flag desecration. Now, earlier cigar label printers had no problem using a beautiful Miss Liberty and the American flag to sell their stogies. This one adds a lion, perhaps symbolizing the American triumph over Spain when it liberated Cuba in 1898. The shield with the Cuban flag and a scene from San Juan Harbor complete this overly patriotic design. This company wasn't shy about using the full flag to proclaim the Earth's best cigar. Now, upon the death of General and President Ulysses S. Grant in 1885, this cigar label attempts to outline his life and major accomplishments between the red stripes. Some designs of cigar labels actually focused on the history of the American flag. This brand is titled First Flag and proclaims that the first American flag was made at the Betsy Ross House in Philadelphia. Speaking of Betsy Ross, apparently she had a mild, pleasing quality, whether her cigar cost 5 cents or 6 cents. These advertising flags, trade cards, and cigar labels are just samples of the many ways the American flag has been used to sell products. Many of these were essentially prohibited by the United States Flag Code adopted in the 1920s. Even though the Flag Code does not have the force of law, the flag disappeared from most advertising in the early 20th century. Now here's one more example of the morphing label. The Earth's Best banner initially had 5-pointed stars in the canton, but eventually they were replaced by fuzzy 4-armed crosses, and additional lines were added between the stripes to further convince you that they were not using the American flag in their advertisements. Finally, I'll wrap up with a few actual cloth flags with advertising printed across the stripes. This is about the rarest form of flag advertising, and it replicates battle honors from regimental flags from the Civil War. S.P. Roby of Lewiston, Maine, spelled out his sporting goods on these flags. Now here we have a few cloth ribbons made to celebrate individual events at expositions of the 1890s. And these small ribbons advertised sewing machines, they honored the Grand Army of the Republic, and celebrated the 400th anniversary of Columbus Day. Now, I don't know if E.C. Haddock made any of these flags I've shown today, but his print shop was in a residential area north of Philadelphia, and that is now an auto repair shop. Okay, now, as we're all fans of flags, I thought this fan of the Red Star steamship line was a good way to wrap things up today. So, hope you've enjoyed my presentation. Do you have any questions? Yes, John?
Yeah, a great presentation. I was curious, relative to the Civil War, did you come across any Confederate businesses that use the stars and bars or other versions of the Confederate flag in their advertising?
Nothing in the way of advertising. However, I do have a 5-cent note from the Bank of Augusta, which does show the Confederate First National flag. And I might be able to pull that out a little bit later and hold it up to the camera and show you later. But no, I have not found much in the way of advertising. There were Civil War patriotic covers, which did show the Confederate national flag, never showed the stars and bars. I'm sorry, the stars and bars is the first national flag, but it never showed the Southern Cross, which was actually the Army of Northern Virginia. Any flags used on Confederate patriotic covers were the first national flag. And many of those may have been printed in the North, although actually I do have one example. Hold on just a moment here, and let me stop sharing the screen. And, let's see. Let me see if I can get back to video here. Come on, come on, come on.
But I also think there may be some examples on Confederate currency showing the Confederate flag. That's a possibility.
Yes. Okay, here's a patriotic envelope of a ship from New Orleans on the Mississippi River. So, and I'll read that text to you. It says, regular Nashville and St. Louis packet. Let's see. And the gentleman's last name was Hillman, Hillman. and the master was A.N. Corbett. So that's an example of a patriotic cover. But actually, it's as much an advertising cover as anything else from the Confederacy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Nick, yeah, I just have a question real quick. How did you actually like get into like finding the advertisements? Was it just something that you caught one thing and then you couldn't get enough, or you know?
Yeah, looking for, well, I call myself a vexillomnivore. I'll try to suck up anything with flags on it. And since I started with American flags, particularly obsolete American flags, the earlier the better, looking for flags with printing across the stripes. I have a few examples of flags that were used to mark graves of Civil War veterans, and those flags would list the name and number of the post of the Grand Army of the Republic that that veteran belonged to. And that led to finding flags that had advertising printed across the stripes. I do have a couple of political flags, but some of those can get terrifically expensive. I did at one time have an advertising flag from the campaign of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, and I since sold that to help finance my daughter's college education, and it did help.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you.
Crazy, yeah. All right. I guess if there aren't any more comments or questions, thanks, Nick. That was really interesting. You always have good stuff. Yeah, I guess we'll go to the next Vexibit. If Anthony, if you want to talk about your subject here, gold stars on World War II era burial flags. You're still up for it.
Sure, that sounds good. Let me see if I can share.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll just switch this around real quick. 1 second. Yeah, so the topic that I was going to cover today is one that I think the group here may be familiar with, but it's been quite a mystery about World War II burial flags. And let me just, I'm gonna hide this presenter view here. Let's see. I have two screens, so it's not really behaving very well. Let's see. Can you see the screen here?
You got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, as you all know, there's a tradition of using the American flag to drape the coffin of the service members and police and first responders and others who die in the line of duty or even had served in one capacity or other in their lifetime. And these funeral flags are designed to a very specific standard. They're 5 feet by 9.5 feet dimensions, and they're made of cotton. And they follow a specific regulation for their construction. And let's see. Sometimes what we find with these flags is an unusual situation where the stars on these flags are a golden color. And as you know, there's a lot of symbology with Gold Star as far as deaths in the military, Gold Star families, taking essentially what are son in service or daughter in service flags and creating those, and then if the service member dies in the line of duty, that taking the flag and covering it with gold. And I'll show an example of that. But these flags turn up And there's been a lot of question. Being that I have my website and everything, people write to me occasionally and ask me, what does this mean? And what you can see on these is that there's often transference of the golden color onto the white stripes of the flag when the flag is stored for long periods of time. Often these flags were given to the families, and then they were, yep, there's an example that Nick has of one. And you notice on the one that Nick is showing, you'll see another one. Sometimes these flags have alternate white and gold stars, and it's a very interesting phenomena. So you'll notice on this picture of the same flag that I was just showing, you have white stars on the back of the flag and the gold stars on the front of the flag, the obverse of the flag. And notice also that sometimes the thread actually on these has also turned a golden color or is a golden color. And you'll notice that we'll see an example where there's gold stars interspersed with white stars, even in the same row of the flag. So here's a case again where clearly there's a difference in the material that was used for these stars when they were made on these flags. Now, where are these flags from? Well, that's been a big mystery. Like, what causes this is one mystery, and another, where were they made? Why are they discolored in this way? Was this an intentional? A lot of speculation has gone into whether or not this was an intentional thing, and is it symbolic in any way? Here you can see another that has clearly white thread, but golden colored stars. So what are some clues? I received an email from a family member who said that a relative was killed in Cambridge, England in 1944 in a P-51 crash. And they just opened the box with a ceremonial flag that was used at his burial for the first time in 80 years. Now that's kind of a rare thing. Oftentimes these flags are opened and they've been, in drawers or in other places. But in this case, the person who wrote to me said that this box had not been opened in 80 years. And he said, notice the difference in the color of the fabric on some of the stars, and has asked me if there's any idea. Perhaps the British manufactured the flag and they were short of materials, which is a really good speculation. So here is a case where we know that, most interesting, this flag not only was boxed for 80 years and not opened, but also the box still exists, and it has on here the military cemetery in Cambridge. And notice the note that was inside the box basically says that you're enclosed as the United States flag used during the burial services in the United States military cemetery overseas, and it's being forwarded directly from the cemetery, and is presented as a token of sympathy and appreciation from a grateful nation. And then at a later point, they followed up with information about where the service member, Jesse Black, was interred. And so this flag came directly from Cambridge, England, after it was used, remained boxed and containerized by the family for nearly 80 years. A little bit about Jesse Black. Jesse Black served in the military and was killed in an aircraft accident. The crash occurred after they were returning back from a mission. And you can see here in the formal write-up, he was flying on an aircraft called the Susie Bell. It had engaged a Ju-88. And then if in the official report on the left, or one of the reports, it said that it took off to the north, circled the airfield, and then came back over the squadron area above the trees. When it was on its descent, the right wingtip caught the treetops and caused a crash. And it does say that where the individuals were interred at the Cambridge Cemetery, which and also some were returned to the United States. But Sergeant Black is still interred at the cemetery in Cambridge. And here's just a news clipping that the family had sent to me about Sergeant Black. And notice, his father was very, very bereaved at the loss of his son and his parents. And you can see here the information just about his service. He was from Kansas, and the family really had a challenge. And this is in talking with the family member who sent me the information about the flag. Basically, he said that for Memorial Day, in a subsequent email, having been in a box for 80 years, they hoisted this flag to celebrate Memorial Day. And he was a radio man on a C-47. And his father was so upset, as you can see, that he never opened the box. So what are the potential causes for this? And again, this is not me as a materials or chemist expert here. This is more for better or for worse, some AI analysis on this, but these are potential causes, at least, that seem to be plausible for the oxidation or the change to a golden color. It could be bleaching agents, optical brighteners, fire retardant and anti-mildew, starching, and other potential oil or waxing or waterproofing agents. Now, realize that it's likely that the flag was made in the UK. It would have been, obviously, they had a very robust textile industry and ability to contract and produce flags. It's unlikely, I believe, that the flag would have been made in the United States, because there were so many that were needed in Europe, and then sent over from the US just to be used, only to be sent back to the families once they were interred. So it's likely that this was made in the UK, and maybe all of these Gold Star flags are related to UK fabric production. And it's likely too that there were different batches of fabric that was used. And so because of this migratory chemical reaction that transfers in a lot of these flags to the white stripes, according to some analysis here, chlorine-based bleaches might have turned yellow and migrated when exposed to humidity, or fire retardant. And when you think about the manufacture and use of fabrics in the UK during the war, there were many of these types of fabric treatments that would have made sense, whether it was being used for waterproofing, being used for fire retardant or anti-mildew. They were on wartime footing, producing fabrics that needed to be used for military purposes, and had to, behave well when exposed to the elements and all kinds of different things. And so, which one of these is correct would require, chemist analysis and further analysis on it. But this is, I thought, really interesting that this particular flag, we now know where it came from and specifically what it was used for and who it was used for. A lot of times that information is just lost, and the flags will surface, but it's unclear where they originated from and when. And so, so where are we today? Well, we know that the flag was associated with the British Cemetery for US service members, at least one, that it came directly from the UK. It was likely made in the UK. And we know that because it has two distinct star colors on it, and it was stored the same way in the same box, that its difference is really based on the construction and materials of the flag, not on, the storage conditions, for example. There clearly is two things going on with the fabric used on these white stars. So that's what I have to share about this. And does anybody on the call have any other information? Nick, have you come across? I see your hand up.
Yes, I
information?
have. And my theory is that the possibility of this starch or stiffener being the cause of the discoloration, that's what I pin the concept on. Because the way they made these flags, and actually, let me step back. I believe they're made in U.S. U.S. manufacturers, because the construction is identical to other American-made flags. British-made American flags that I have seen basically are printed or resist dyed. I don't recall seeing any that have sewn stars. But let me get back to how they're made in the U.S. The way they made them would be to stamp out the stars, the 48 stars, and place them on the blue canton. They would sew those stars into place, but with a white sheet of fabric on the backside, a white sheet of cotton on the backside, so that once you're finished sewing the 48 stars on the front, that sheet on the backside of the blue canton had 48 stars sewn onto it. All you had to do was cut out the cloth in between, and that would reveal the 48 stars on the back. Now, you needed the stiffer stars on the fronts to ease in handling. They put a little dab of glue on them. In fact, I have some 48-star flags that have a discolored spot right in the middle, which I believe is the glue that they used to stick it in place so it would remain in place during the sewing. The cotton on the back did not need that stiffening agent. In fact, the more flexibility, the better, really, so that it would ease in cutting out the unnecessary white material that would expose the blue canton around the stars. And so I think they're American made. I think the discoloration is caused by a stiffening or starch material.
That's great. Great information. And Stan, I saw your hand up.
Yes, just real quick. We have in the repository where I work one of those types of flags with, if I'm not mistaken, all of the stars are of that color. So if you ever find any more detailed information or what have you, I would be interested to include that with the accession file.
Thanks. I definitely will. So what Nick was describing too is consistent with some of the construction techniques. Here's a case that's a bit unusual on the one that he sent to me, in that some of these on the same side are different, oxidized differently. You can see here on like the fourth row down, fifth row down, adjacent stars are very different on this particular one. So it really is a bit of a mystery. And yet on this example here, you can see the uniformity of the color. And on this flag, this aligns with, what Nick mentioned about the construction, where you've got perhaps a sized or starched cotton on one side, and then the white on the other side that didn't have the same stiffener or starch in that. So it is a very mysterious thing. And so we're still learning about these, but it definitely is an interesting topic. I think it might be worthwhile just to have this tested in a lab and just see what's on these to kind of put this question to rest. You can see here the flag of this family is being sewn on Memorial Day. Christopher, you have your hand up?
Yeah. I happen to have my my grandfather's flag. He was a World War I veteran who died in 1964, and his flag is much like one of the ones you just had pictured, where it's cotton. It was made by Valley Forge Flag Company, and you can see the stars, how they're sewn. And it's made of, yeah, I think I said it's made of cotton, but I was looking for any color transfer that you were talking about, and that apparently didn't occur with this one, because I've had it for quite a while, and haven't noticed any color transfer, discoloration, or anything other than just it being out and displayed.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Well, and it is, I mean, World War II and World War One, both we had 48 stars for both those conflicts, right? So it's interesting to see a World War One example as well. And it looks like it didn't significantly change as far as the flag manufacture between then and now. So
yeah, no,
I think
it's a 48 star flag, this one, yeah.
Yeah. So all right. Is there anything, I don't know if there's anything on the chat, but were there any other questions? That was what I had to show today, just some interest on a point of origin, or at least where a service member had one of these flags that was used. So
looks like John Edmond has a question, but he's still on mute.
John?
Yeah, sorry about that. And my hand mechanism for some reason isn't working. Question and a comment. The question is, Anthony, did you obtain that, or did that family send you that to gain your insight because you are a well-known flag collector? And then I've got a comment.
Yeah, I don't own it. No, they kept the flag. It was just a question that they asked me, and wanted to know about the mystery of the golden colored stars on the flag. So yeah.
Okay. And this is a comment for yourself and also for Christopher. I'll probably give it again sometime, a presentation called Bringing History to Life, comparing items that may be intrinsically interesting but no longer have any background, no longer have any history, versus objects that have a known and well-documented history. In your flag and in Christopher's, what's interesting, and we see this happen so often, if you did not have that image sent to you of the box and the follow-up note, etc., it would be a flag, generic, interesting flag, no history. Christopher, the same with yours in terms of the World War I flag. And what I point out to people in my presentation is how very important it is for known objects that have a background to be documented, because if they're not, it gets to a point where they're just lost to history, and it'll be very hard, if ever, to regain the history on an item. So what you've got there with that note there is really important, because then it puts into the whole context to hear that you've got a plane that fought in battle, but actually was not downed in battle. It was by a tragic accident. None of that would be known if that information was not still connected to the flag. And the same for Christopher for his World War I grandparent flag, and so many other objects of history besides flags. It adds so much more if someone had taken the time to document, because otherwise, once forgotten, virtually never can be regained.
It's sad how many 5.5 by 9 feet, I'm sorry, 4.5 by 9 feet flags I see on eBay that are clearly internment flags, either 48 or 49 stars, and there's no history with them all at all. Someone says they picked it up at a yard sale or it was passed down the family. They don't know anything about it. And this flag that honored a serviceman or woman who died for the service of our country is just totally lost, and that's very sad.
Yep. Yeah, I'll be at a show, and it's not just flags, it's anything. Interesting item, and I'd ask the dealer, this is great, what's the background, because I don't see any information. Oh, I picked it up at the Richmond show, and that's the end of the story. It becomes just something handed from location to location, and it's tragic because sometimes there's some very powerful stories that we'll never know about because it was never documented at the time when it was still knowledge known.
Yep, that's a great point. Yep. Well, and I always enjoy seeing things come across when people do have that history to it with a specific question. So that's why I thought this was particularly interesting. Well, we have more mysteries. These mysteries aren't solved. This is just a little clue here to at least one of the uses of these flags. And Nick, thanks for the additional information on that. It certainly is.
You're welcome.
The research on this is still open, and there's still a lot to be done. So thank you.
Let me just throw in one more point. I recall one movie many years ago. I don't know whether it's Battle of the Bulge or it was something in Europe, and a German soldier, I think it was a German general, was holding up a cake And he said, the Americans have so much fuel they can afford to send cakes across the ocean. Whereas, of course, at that time, Germany was running out of gasoline and diesel fuel. So I would not be at all surprised if it was American Army policy, military policy, to send American-made flags overseas. I don't see that they would have had them made in Europe.
Yeah, that was Battle of the
that's
Bulge.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Joseph, over to you.
All right. All right. Thanks, Anthony. That was always interesting presentations from you. Dale, I guess we're back up to see if we can try to share the screen here.
All right. I would like to try this one more time. Is it up now?
Yes.
Hey.
We got it. Yeah, it's on a presenting
All right.
view, but we got it. Yeah.
So I'll go quickly. And my slides won't advance. I tell you, I just. All right. 80 years ago today, this photograph was taken. And it's one of the most famous photographs of World War II. The United States Marine had landed on Iwo Jima on the 19th of February. A flag was raised on top of Mount Suribachi on the 23rd, 1945, 80 years ago today. The first flag that was raised was a size 11 made at Mare Island, and it was the one that all the Marines on the island cheered, and all the ships blew their whistles and, just made a lot of cheering racket. And then it was deemed that that flag was too small. So they said, well, we're going to put up a replacement flag. And there's a group taking this flag up, and that's when Joe Rosenthal, the photographer, joined the group walking up the mountain. And he wasn't even sure he was going to go up there, but they said, you got to go up there and just see the view. You can see everything on the island from up top there. So he takes this photograph, and 80 years ago, you couldn't see the photograph. You had to send it to Guam to get it developed. And someone asked him, did you stage that photograph? Well, he was thinking of another photograph. It's called the Gung Ho photograph. And he said, yeah. So that was the first controversy regarding this photograph. The two flags, one's a size 7, the other one's a size 11, the smaller one. They're both made at Mare Island, and they're both at the National Museum of the Marine Corps in Quantico, Virginia, where they're rotated on display. Another controversy was who's in the photograph, and that has been resolved like 5 years ago. They had misidentified the 6 Marines that were in there in the photograph. So these are my size 7 and size 11 Mare Island flags that I put on display. I had these flags on display at a local library 5 years ago this month for Iwo Jima. I gave a talk, and it was just before COVID really took its effect. I remember going out afterwards to a restaurant with my wife, and everyone in the restaurant's kind of turning around looking at each other, like, is this COVID disease amongst us? So that's one of my memories of that. But this kind of gives you an idea of the difference in sizes of the two flags. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. If you have any questions or anything, you just stop me. And so 80 years ago today, the picture was taken on Mount Suribachi of the Marines raising the American flag. I think I mentioned this before. I had accumulated some World War II Navy flags. What I really liked about them is all the markings on the header. This National Geographic, our flag number from October 1917, had this chart in there. And, studying this chart, I realized that a size 7 Union Jack has the same dimensions as a size 7 Canton on an ensign. So it's just started all coming together for me. And then here's the Blue Jackets manual from 1946. It's a handbook. It's a reference guide for United States sailors. It's been around for over 100 years. And you can see these 4 flags across the top here. Can you identify them? The blue one is the Secretary of the Navy. Then the red one is Undersecretary, Assistant Secretary. And then the white one with the red anchor is the Assistant Secretary of Aeronautics. What I'm going to be talking about today is the Admiral flags. So we have a 5-star Fleet Admiral, Admiral, Vice Admiral, Rear Admiral, and Commodore. So I would set up a flag display outside or indoors, wherever. And so here are at the time, my Secretary of the Navy flags. This is my mom and dad. So this was 2006. And you can see Admiral, Assistant Secretary, Undersecretary. Does anyone identify this flag here on the right? It's the Secretary of Defense. So at the time, I didn't have the 4th flag, so I wanted balance. I had 4 Admiral flags, and then they were over on this side, and so I put that up. It made for a nice display. And I've had people comment years ago, like World War II vets, say, I used to see these flags flying on ships, and I never really paid any attention to them, but now they were appreciating being able to look at them. So Admiral flags in my flag collection. So here's a Commodore flag. The U.S. Navy had Commodores in World War II. Their rank is above Captain and below Rear Admiral. It has 1 star, steel grommets, and it's a dovetail. It was not made at Mare Island, and that's the markings on it. The rank was discontinued in 1945 after the war. So here's a Rear Admiral, 2 white stars, vertical, size 4. Size 4 flags are about 5 feet hoist by 7 feet fly. It has a braided rope, brass hook and ring, and that always is interesting to me, if it has the hardware or not. You can see this one was made at Mare Island, 1944. Earlier in the war, they printed out more information. They would print out Mare Island. They would put the month and the year as well, as you'll see in other flags. Here's a Vice Admiral, size 4. It was made at Mare Island, but it doesn't have Mare Island printed on it. It's marked 5-F5995. And for some reason, they wrote the control number on the flag. 3 stars, braided rope. And I have other flags that have that type of control number on them. I think that's another way that they could determine how many flags were made with what information was on them. And here's the markings on it. There were dozens of temporary vice admirals appointed during World War II. So here is an Admiral flag. It has the 4 stars on it. It was made at Mare Island, July 1943. It has a braided rope, a brass ring, but the brass hook was cut off. And a lot of flags have the brass hook missing. Signal flags and Admiral flags. And here's the markings on it. Pop quiz. All right, I know what you're saying. I didn't know there was going to be a quiz. That's what my students would say. And I would say that's why it's a pop quiz, because if I told you it was coming, it wouldn't be a pop quiz. So, how many fleet admirals did the U.S. Navy have in World War II, and what were their names? Anybody want to take a guess as to how many there were? All right, I'll tell you.
Was it Nimitz, one of them?
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Nimitz was
Halsey.
one, Chester Nimitz. So there were 4 of them.
Halsey.
William, yeah. Bill Halsey. So there weren't many 5-star fleet admirals in World War II. Here's their names. That's the point of our pop quiz. And William Leahy and Ernest King. So I didn't think I would ever come across a 5-star fleet admiral flag, and one became available this past January. It's marked Admiral of the Fleet, set for Mare Island, braided rope, and the brass hook has been cut off. Admiral Fleet, and handwritten in here, it says Admiral Halsey. So maybe it flew on a ship one time when Admiral Halsey was on there. And then I have a couple other slides, miscellaneous admiral flags, size 4. What's interesting about this flag is it's about 4 feet short on the fly. I don't know why that would be, but it's not like it was tattered and then sewn up again.
Was the Halsey flag auction or private purchase?
It was an auction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here's a vice admiral flag, and the word vice has been crossed out and rear admiral has been put in because it's only 2 stars.
Hmm.
And I could just see some poor sailor in the signal corps hoisting this flag, thinking he's raising the correct flag, and then getting reamed out because, the admiral is a 3-star flag, or, so, and it wasn't his fault, but, oftentimes it's a no-win situation. Braided rope, hook, and ring. All right, so this one is marked PSNY. I have other flags that are marked NY, Navy Yard, New York. This is PSNY. It's a West Coast base. Anyone have a guess on that one? Puget Sound. And that yard is still active. It's been around since the 1890s. And here's a white rear admiral, size 4 with blue stars. And it's for an admiral who's not eligible to command at sea. So this flag is not flown on ships. And here's its marking. And according to Rick Watt, CRW, currently there are 2 admirals, the chief of the Bureau of Medicine and Surgery and the director of defense, who are eligible to fly a white rear admiral flag. Oh, and NY Navy Shipyard, New York Navy Shipyard. All right. Recently acquired blood chits. I had a blood chit display at the NAVA conference in Philadelphia a couple years ago. And they would wear these on the back of their flight jackets to identify that they were Americans. And then it had many languages. Some just had 1 or 2 languages. This one looks like it's a 7. Some has many as 17 different languages. And it just says, if you can help me, my government will reward you. And then the book that has a tremendous amount of information in it, Last Hope, is what I use as a reference. Yeah, this is a 7-language blood chit. And yeah, I had these blood chits displayed at Philadelphia in 2023. So here's a Ghoulie chit. It has the British Royal Arm monogram. It's paper backed with linen. Has 4 Burmese languages and English. And in the book, it says a member of the CBI, China, Burma, India, Hump Pilots Association said, when you're flying on operations, there were 2 things you always wanted to make sure you flew with, and that was your parachute and your Ghoulie chit. Common card chit. All right, so this is the front, and then it opens up. And what I like about this is I know who owned it. This common card chit was made in England. It was issued to Flight Sergeant Walter George Hood. Hood, as you can see in the newspaper article, was awarded the Distinguished Flying Medal. He assisted in the destruction of 4 enemy aircraft, one of which was a spy plane. By the end of the war, he had flown 740 daytime hours and 1,371 nighttime hours. So he really put in a lot of hours. This is what it looks like when it's opened up. It's a little rough on the back, like the next chit. It was pasted inside of an album. And what's interesting about this one, the Germans distributed forgeries into it in an attempt to create ill will. The Eric message depicts British desire to colonize the Arab world. So here you have the English version, and over here you think it says the same thing, but the German forgery cleverly put that, the British are trying to colonize the Arab world. And another thing they did down here, they changed the word from water to intoxicant, which is forbidden. Alcohol is forbidden. So you'd be walking around with this, looking for help, and you're giving it to someone who you finally can find who can read, and they find it insulting. So here's what's known as the passport chip. It was also issued to Sergeant Hood. It was designed to look impressive and look official with the Great Seal, the American flag. It was printed in England on cardstock and issued in North Africa. So on the inside has a red stamp marked official U.S. Army, a message from President Roosevelt in Arabic, English, and French. You see another newspaper clipping of Hood with some of his mates. And this, I think, is really interesting. I got this from the man's son. When Hood joined the RAF in 1941, he told them he was born in 1912 so he could be considered for a cockpit crew rather than a ground crew. But actually, he was born in 1909. All right, so he made himself out to be 3 years younger than he actually was. He lived that way until he was 63 years old, and that's when he revealed his actual age was 66 so he could apply for a state pension. All this time, even his wife didn't know his actual age. His son, who I bought these chits from, also included many of his service papers, which I thought was really interesting. Here's one. I purchased it from a man in England in November. He mailed it right away. The tracking said it was in New York in customs. And I waited and I waited and I contacted him. He contacted me. And the company that I dealt with said, do you want this item or do you want your money back? I said, I want the item. And it went on and on and on. And just recently they issued a refund. So I did get my money back, but I was disappointed not to get that particular chit. I have other with the British flag at the top, but it only takes half of the top. Over here is other languages are printed. So that's just one that I don't have. And I could stop now, but I only have like 8 more slides, if that's okay. Everybody left.
Oh, go ahead. As far as
Okay.
I'm concerned.
So this is from this is a Mare Island flag that flew on the USS Lahardy DE Destroyer Escort 20. This ship was made at Mare Island, where these flags are made, where most of the flags in my collection have come from. Originally, it was laid down as the HMS Duff. It was made for the Royal Navy, but the ship was retained by the U.S. Navy and then was renamed Lahardy. And there's the markings. And the Lahardy had the honor of proceeding to Wake Island as the Japanese commander surrendered and raising an American flagpole to fly the American flag once again. All right, here's one. It's marked size 7, NYNY, Navy Yard, New York. It's about 5 foot by 8 foot. I have it folded over so it would fit inside the photograph. It has a braided rope, brass hook and ring. Oh, and so why is this flag so dirty? You know, it's just not bright white at all. And I think, I don't know the date on this flag. I suspect it's from World War I, but you can see they were burning coal or oil and the smoke just poured out of those ships. And I think that's soot on that flag. And that's my slideshow. Questions?
Yeah, Dale, you showed flags of admirals that were not qualified to serve at sea.
Right.
Was that because they couldn't swim?
What?
Was that because they could not swim?
Couldn't swim. Because they're very high rank. You know, they're like a medical doctor in charge of a hospital or something like that. That's the highest rank that they can attain right now is Rear Admiral. Yeah, there's no vice admirals or admirals from what I understand.
I think John's got a question there.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I believe there was a major flag collector, Dungy, I think may have been his last name, that Heritage had been selling over several auctions aspects from his collection. I'm just curious if some of these flags, World War II, especially with military combat experience, if they came out of that one collection. I forget the name, but he interacted with presidents. He was very well known, and Heritage over time has been selling a number of flags from his collection. I was just curious if some of those flags were from that grouping.
Well, I had all the Admiral flags for the last 10, 15 years. I just acquired the 5-star Fleet Admiral flag, and I don't think that was from that collection. No.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Just curious.
All right. If there's no other questions or comments, thank you, Dale, as always. Very interesting presentation. I like seeing all the different variations and things of that sort. So I think we're going to try to move on again. Bryan, if you're still up for it, I know you had a Vexibit, just a short Vexibit about your flag info cards. I don't know if you're still willing to do that, and then John will get to your presentation shortly. I just go in the order that I get the requests, so I try to accommodate everyone, but try to make it fair. So Bryan, I don't know if you want to your screen or anything like that. Sure. You're still okay to do that.
Yep. Let me hello again from DC. So over the last years, collected some flags. I like to fly them on our front porch. And so one of the questions always what was the need here was people would be like, what is that flag? I've had people knock on the door and ask me like, what's going on with that? What's that one? That's a pretty flag. I think one of I think the two most interesting ones I've had Jehovah Witnesses knock on our door and ask us what that flag was, and it's the flag of the Holy See. We're Catholic, and so that was just kind of interesting. So it was like Easter weekend. And then actually having people ask me what the DC flag was. So, but anyways, I wasn't always able to answer those questions. So I started thinking about like maybe I need like a little placard or something like that so that people can just answer the questions for themselves. And so thought about what's the information that people need. And so I put together a little card. I've got the name of the flag, an image of the flag, a short description. I usually compile it from both from Flags of the World and Wikipedia and any like personal knowledge that I have. And then I've also added links for people to learn even more because there's only so much you can fit on a little tiny card. And so there's a QR code folks can scan to either go to nava.org or to the Flags of the World or the Wikipedia entry for that specific flag. So I trying to figure this out, and what I settled on was something that I could easily produce, multiples, wasn't going to put me out of pocket a tremendous amount. So I settled on a 4x6 photo paper and rigid trading card holders, which, you can buy a quick pack here, off of Amazon. And so I wanted it to be durable, tried a couple of options, but this is what I settled on. I went with a very complex mounting system. I wanted something that was really simple, and I went with 3M command strips. So it's the backing off of their clips that are outdoor clips that are waterproof for like hanging up lights on your house, and then I just mounted on the back of one plastic card frame, and I just slide in the card. I just swap out the card, and so I've got a binder of them where you can actually like photo binders. And so like this is a sample card that I create. I'll write up a little bit about the history of the flag, something unique about it, or if there's like a personal connection or something, because that's like why most of the flags are in my collection is it's a flag that I'm interested in. It's a flag for friends or family, and we generally like to if you're visiting me from like my home state of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin flag will be up if you're visiting from Washington state and so on. And so this has been handy, and I like to do one for every single flag. So, and I've been building as I need. So as I fly a new flag, I'll take a few, I'll create a new card for it. So I've had a number of them. One of the interesting things, since we're flying it out on porch, I fly the U.S. flag with a morning cravat. And then I did when President Carter passed away, did a separate card, just a little bit that included the White House proclamation, for that one, since it was a little different. And so I just keep building these each as I need. It is interesting. We do have a Ring doorbell. So I actually have like video of people coming to our door, like people are like soliciting, things like that. They knock on the door and then they see the little plaque and I can see them reading, and then they're like, "Hey dude, there's a code." And then they like actually scan it. So I know people are actually using it, which is kind of fun. So, the other thing is people always have asked like, how many flags do I have? So sounds like I'm, in like company. I'm somewhere right around 200. I've got a little Google sheet that I've put together so I know what flags I have and where they are in the garage. So, I'm always taking requests to build my inventory. I'd say the most interesting one I have is the 150th anniversary flag for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And it's the flag that they flew outside of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So it's like the size of the front of my house. So I don't know if it's really appropriate for a porch-sized flag, but that one takes up a lot of space. Plus, I've got a POW MIA flag that was from the Secretary of Defense's office from a friend who used to work there. So there you go. Had a headache, lots of inquisitive friends and neighbors, and solved it with a little 4x6 card. So,
Bryan, what street are you on? What neighborhood?
I'm over in Edgewood, Brookland, just south of Catholic University.
Okay. I'm in Adams Morgan around 17th and U Northwest, and I fly yeah, right at the edge of Adams Morgan where DuPont Circle comes together. And I fly flags outside too. And there are a few people, they'll drop notes through or they'll send messages. What are you flying today? That kind of thing. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so what I did is I actually built it out in Google Slides. So it's really easy for me to print. I just add on. Happy to share the design file with anybody. I mean, it's not anything complex. I just find a picture, write it up, and it's been super handy. So.
Oh, neat.
So there you go. That's my Vexibit for today. So thanks.
That is so cool. Thank you so much. I think you might need to send this out, I guess, and maybe one of the one of the FOTW or the NAVA news or something like that, because I bet people would really want to use that. You might be able to, I don't know, maybe monetize it.
Brian's Vexibit flag cards, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Make a service out of it. Yeah.
Right. Nick, I see you've got your hand up.
Yeah, there's a question about the use of the Confederate flag in advertising. Here is a 5-cent note from the Bank of Augusta, which shows the original stars and bars of the Confederacy. And that's one of the few pieces I have like that.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. If there aren't any more comments or questions, without further ado, I think we'll have John present his presentation on some Trump flags. Yeah, thanks for waiting, everyone, and thank you, John, for waiting.
John, you want to toggle
Yeah,
monitor? You want to toggle monitor?
Yeah, I've been talking.
On your top, if you change your monitor, it's like on the far right. Right now it says automatic. If you toggle it to this one that you want to share, that'll get you the screen that you want to share.
I just don't like my big head. It feels
Yeah.
very 1984. Great. Let's go with that. Can you
Or John, the other thing you can do is if you unclick use presenter view, it'll just go into slideshow mode for you.
If I unclick use presenter?
Yeah, it's right below, right where your mouse was. It's about 2/3 of the way on the right, on the top nav there, right under monitor where it says automatic.
John, you mentioned the big head. You could be the new Max Headroom of the 21st century.
Definitely could. If I hide self view, will that work? How about now? I'm gonna stop share. I'm sorry.
You couldn't see those options under the Zoom sharing bar. So if you look on top of PowerPoint, right under the monitors section, if you unclick use presenter view, that'll force it on the same screen that you're using.
How about now? Are you seeing my slot? Are you seeing my?
Yeah, we just see presenter view, but it's all good.
See presenter view. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I do apologize.
So that same in slideshow.
Boom. Is that it?
Boom. Yeah. There you go.
Oh God, guys, I'm sorry. It's been a little while. So my presentation today is on the flags, the vexillology of Donald Trump. On the surface, it seems like a pretty easy topic, but the more I thought about it, it actually presents a lot of problems for us as vexillologists. So we're going to break it down into these areas. Brief introduction about, how we're going to approach this. We'll talk a little bit about Trump's brand. We'll delve into the actual vexillology of a Trump flag, like what makes Trump flag and what doesn't make a flag. We'll hit up on some design principles and we'll just close it out afterwards. So, as we all know, Donald Trump is the 45th and 47th president of the United States. A lot of people like him. A lot of people don't like him, which makes it very difficult to talk about him objectively. there have been NAVA articles related to Trump, not NAVA articles. Vexillum had an article almost immediately after January 6th. And it's an interesting article, but it's actually not about flags. It's actually about January 6th with some flag stuff kind of woven into it. And I think really what the problem ends up being is that Trump is very difficult to speak about objectively. And vexillology is, at least it appears to be as objective as it can be. It's an organized body of knowledge. So what I kind of developed were just some analytic ground rules on how I looked at talking about Trump. You could really apply this to any controversial topic. I think this is as germane for vexillologists that we're often called to speak about flags as they are being presented in real time. So if we, I'll go back to January 6th very briefly, but if we want to pick out the flags that are being represented at January 6th, we're picking them out so we can say something about January 6th and by extension by Trump, Republicans, Trump supporters, etc. Which I think if you go down that approach, what will instantly happen is that partisan positions will kind of coalesce around that, and you'll end up being not really talking about flags at all. You'll just be fighting about Donald Trump, which we already do enough of in our own society. So my first rule is that I'm trying to treat Trump on his own terms. I'm trying to make this about Trump as we see him, not as we would like him to be, and not as if we are drawing from context clues to kind of reassemble a partisan position. And to that end, I am trying to avoid extraneous subjects, right? So no Confederate flags, no tiki torches, no Gadsden flags, nothing that is not, if Trump is not on stage with it, or if Trump is not closely associated with it, it's just something that somebody else is doing, I generally refrain from it. And to that end, to be as nonpartisan as possible. It's virtually impossible to be nonpartisan with Donald Trump. I would also separate facts from their temporary political utility, going back to Charlottesville. So Charlottesville in 2017 mostly had to do with an association with Trump and white nationalists, even whether, how that came to be debunked over time. But what Trump ended up really making something prophetic about was really about Confederate removal of Confederate monuments. Well, that stopped being useful in 2017 as the Confederate iconoclasty movement kind of petered out, and then it came back in 2020, and it became instantly useful again. So Charlottesville is being reconnected to Trump in 2020 in a different way than 2017. So it's important, if you're going to talk about situations that have a political charged element to it, to just kind of understand where it is between political utility and actual facts today as a vexillologist. And the way I'm doing that is just kind of keep flags and iconography central. So this is a scope of analysis today. This is where I focused my efforts. Trump as a symbol, not as a human being, not as a collection of policies, not as a president, not really as a historical figure. But when I say Trump, like what do we mean, and what does he mean by saying Trump? To that end, we're going to use a brand-driven assessment. We're going to look at Trump as a brand. In particular, we're going to look at the MAGA slogan, and we're also going to look at Trump flags as a type of in-group messaging that is not meant for universal consumption. And last but not least, because we love flags, we'll talk a little bit about the construction. How do you make a Trump flag? So to that end, we'll jump into Donald Trump as a brand. Here is Donald Trump hugging a flag. It's a very famous image of Trump. That's not the only time he's done it. He has done this many times. So just to begin, it's important really kind of to say that this is not new. Republicans have been cultivating brands for a very long time. This is an 1860 brand. This is a group called the Wide Awakes. They were supporting of Republicans, but also nominally Lincoln, I think. They wore uniforms. They carried, at first time they carried torches, but eventually developed into these very sophisticated lamps. They wore capes. They wore all this kind of stuff. They were a youth auxiliary that supported the Republicans in this kind of weird place that they were in the 1860 election. So I'm fond of this quote. To first just try to understand something about Donald Trump's brand, this is a primary source from back in December 2024. We're also Brand's a podcaster. He's a comedian, and he also speaks in this kind of esoteric language about things. It's not necessarily, he calls him a mystic and a prophet. But what I love this line here. He says, "The American prophet builds towers with his name on it and flies in planes adorned with it. a word that means to beat. Winning is the defining American ideal. And he goes on to talk about other things that we associate with Trump: eating McDonald's, drinking Diet Coke, YMCA dances, sincerity, these kinds of things. I personally believe this will be, in years to come, will be a famous quote about Trump and biographies and all these things that will follow, as they almost often do. Which is really what I think when we come down to it, Trump's brand is ultimately about strength, winning, beating, strongly associated with America, strength, tradition. Authenticity is very important to Trump and Trump supporters. It's important to see Trump as someone who, for better or for worse, is not polished. When you read a Trump tweet, you know that he wrote it, and that he's one of the handful of politicians today that when he is communicating with you, it stands to reason that those are his actual thoughts. Those are definitely what he is thinking at the time. Super Bowl, I hate pennies. We're getting rid of pennies, right? That's like you wouldn't see a politician make a policy decision based on something that came to him while he's watching the Super Bowl. But there you have it. Populism as a form of political expression. Trump is very much fixated on being a political outsider, drawing in people who are not traditional voters and messaging to them. Also, some important constituencies is respect for U.S. military, law enforcement, veterans, their families, anybody associated with that, and blue-collar workers, to include farmers, basically your old bread and butter Republican stuff from really just going back in the 80s. It's a kind of hybrid of Ronald Reagan meets the Apprentice, right? It's Donald Trump. If Donald Trump was playing Ronald Reagan, like, this is the kind of things that he would go to. The slogan is "Make America Great Again." This is an in-group message for people who believe that America has lost its way. It often aggravates people who are anti-Trump or do not care for the slogan. That seems to imply that America is a flawed place. So attempting to return to an earlier place of America is anti-progressive. I don't really think that's what Trump meant, and I don't think that is presently what Trump supporters view that as. So, to get down to it, what is a Trump flag? Here we have, Trump seems to be associated with boating for some reason. I guess a lot of Trump supporters own boats. If you look in the middle, that's actually, what the hell's his name?
Roger Stone.
Damn, thank you, Roger Stone. I was about to call him Roger Ailes, and then I had a brain fart. That's Roger Stone doing the Nixon thing. He actually has a tattoo of Nixon on his back doing that exact thing on the Nixon victories. But we do, just that notwithstanding, we do kind of see a cross section of average Trump flags. The printed American flags, you kind of see that less and no, but you do see a cross section. You see a thin blue line flag. You see Trump Pence. This is from the 2020 campaign when Pence was still on the ticket. People waving, etc. Red, white, and blue. It's a color scheme. But just more analytically, like, what is a Trump flag? Like what are the things that make a Trump flag? First and foremost, it's always going to reinforce the Trump brand. It's often used to communicate internally to Trump supporters or Trump people who aspire to be Trump supporters. People are susceptible to that type of messaging. It gives instructions and permission on what to do. They're almost always topical. They're almost always related to an event that is happening right now. They are intentionally gauche. They are tacky. They are irreverent. They don't pretend to be anything like that. They're bombastic. They're almost always over the top. They are mass produced cheaply. They are almost universally printed, and they impart decentralized control. There's nobody at the controls of what makes a Trump flag and what doesn't make it. They just kind of happen. So reinforces brand. We'll get, in general ways, we may have "Make America Great," "Make America Great Again," "Keep America Great," "Take America Back." These kind of ideas about America, American greatness, strength, tradition. But also sometimes we'll have affinity groups like Latinos for Trump, right? That's happening organically, but it's still reinforcing the Trump brand. It's red and white, the Trump colors, and has Donald Trump's name on it. In-group messaging. I liken this to flags that are meant for consumption in group I like, and my favorite one is, he probably wouldn't agree with this, but a Trump flag is oftentimes like a flag of Saudi Arabia. You cannot read the Shahada at distance. You don't know what that is. But when you look at that flag, you know that's a flag of Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter if you can speak or read Arabic. The same thing is with a Trump flag. They are so distinct that what they appear to be is that I'm going to fly my Trump flag as a symbol to other Trump supporters that it's okay for you to fly theirs. I live in a pocket of New Jersey that is very pro-Trump, but we're completely surrounded by anti-Trump. So Trump didn't win this part of the state, but this little ethnic enclave of Poles and Italians, nobody cares. Like the flags are everywhere, and then you cross the border and you don't see anyone just moving from town to town. It's in-group messaging, and I think this can't be hit hard enough. It gives permission and instructions. It tells you what to do. It tells you to vote for Trump and when to vote for them. These are almost always related to the election that's upcoming. They're almost always elections. They almost always impart a sense of urgency, maintain what we've done in 2020. We've made America great in 2016, but we need to hold on to it. Or 2024, take America back, right? We made America great, we lost it, now we're taking it back. It's this kind of communication, this in-group communication that often occurs on Trump flags. They're topical. They're almost always things that are going on. This is the Felon 2024 flag. These were very popular. You don't see them flying around, but people have them. There was a political action committee that was giving them away for free. I got one for free. I ordered one night. I totally forgot about it. Like 2 months later, I have this like random printed, probably printed in China flag that says Felon 2024 on it. It's red and white. But you also see hillbilly and felon, right? Because part of J.D. Vance's image is the image of the hillbilly, right? The rail splitter, those kinds of characters that are going back to an older type of Republican candidate. And again, if imagine Trump could run for a third term, I don't think you would see Felon 2028. There would be some new label that was on top of that, maybe Hillbilly 2028, something like that, if Vance continues this stride. They're intentionally gauche. Here's "you missed." This is a reaction to a dangerous assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. He's putting it on a flag. Again, he doesn't put this on the flag. I don't think he sits around and says, give me a flag with the name. These just kind of occur organically. Let's Go Brandon is internal code for I'm not going to repeat anything because we have children on the line, but it's not good. You can look that up. This is intentional. This is not, no one's censoring this. This is just kind of how they occur. They're bombastic. They're almost always over the top. These are two very over the top ones. This is Trump's head superimposed on Rambo 3's body. And then we also have things like Daddy's Home. You'll see stuff like that. Again, turned up to 11. There was almost no controlling principle on these types of designs. They're mass produced. Oh shoot, I'm sorry. I apologize I'm gonna slip over there. They're mass produced. They have curse words on them. That particular advantage, I didn't see them to block that out. 4 flags for $5.95. I can't assume these are very high quality flags. I understand these are probably obsolete. These are 2024 flags that they made too many of them, but they do exist. Also, there's no centralized control. Here we have Trump is my savior, gays for Trump, and then also Arabs for Trump. These positions do not necessarily, they don't not naturally have, that's not a natural constituency. And it goes more to Trump being as a populist, as type of his brand, that everyone can find something in Trump because he's willing to make deals. He's not ideologically driven. And one of the ways you'll know is because you have constituencies like this. Okay, some quick design principles. Basically, at all points in time, it's going to reinforce the MAGA themes. It has to be. Trump's a master brander. So it's almost everything's going to almost always go back to that. You will typically see an invocation of the American flag. The design is basic, and there's almost always some kind of slogan contained. So we'll just look at them real quick. This is your basic Trump flag. I made this one. Really, at the end of the day, it's a rectangle with Trump's name on it. It's usually 2 colors. What I like about this is that if you look on the left, this is the old MAGA hat. This is like the farty 1990s, like cord hat, and it almost has this square kind of type. Again, this is just a theory. I think an early Trump flag is just a Trump hat on a stick. I really do. I don't think it's any more deep than that. It's a square and a square. It's got Trump's name on it. Tells you when to vote. And it's got a slogan. That's really all it is. Invokes American flag imagery. Typically comes from the colors red, white, or blue. Very good example when the United States assassinated Qasem Soleimani in 2020. The only thing Trump posted was a picture of the American flag. That was it. Not "we got you, see you in hell," anything like that. For Trump, American flag means America, and if Trump is doing it, America means Trump. It's that simple kind of transaction. I don't think he's any more deep than that. Not to say that Trump doesn't have big ideas or anything. I just think the branding has to be simple in the way that Coke is simple or Pepsi is simple. Red is associated with Republicans. Not all Trump flags are red. Sometimes they're blue and white. Sometimes they're red and white. It does differentiate. And it is worth noting that Trump's own color scheme, the way he dresses like an American flag. He wears a blue suit with a white tie and a red, or a blue suit with a white shirt and a red tie, or some kind of combination. Sometimes he will wear a gold colored tie, but that's a common uniform for the president. Basic, like we said, it's a rectangle and a rectangle. It's got Trump's name, slogan, election year. Nothing serious going on there. Slogans, again, just to touch back on things, but themes like salvation, fighting, fight, fight, fight. Trump is associated with terms like fight like hell, but fight, fight, fight is also what he said when he was shot in 2024. So this is an assassination flag. Is not saying it directly, but that's the image that is pulling in. That's meant that would be understood by Trump supporters. Maybe you're on the outside, you're saying, "Oh, fight for your country," or something like that. But that means assassination. Save America, this type of salvatory languages. These are some Trump-inspired designs that are based on it. Make Mosul Great Again was a patch worn by coalition forces in 2017. Iraqis begin to adopt it. The person who invented it is this woman here. She is a Norwegian surgeon that's credited with popularizing the Make Mosul Great patches. These patches were likely made locally by Iraqis, and as such, there's all kinds of differentiation. Iraqi soldiers love patches, so there's almost always somebody pumping these things out. This is a Trump-inspired design. This is 2020. This is not a flag. This is a placard from the March for Life demonstration in 2020. So it's a pro-life organization, Susan B. Anthony. It's not a well-known thing, but they took a bombastic statement. They put Trump's face in it. It's a rectangle and a rectangle. It's red and white. It's a Trump flag. It's just inspired by it. Trump-inspired designs, RFK, Make America Healthy Again, the Maha movement. It's a unity movement between RFK and Trump. That's a natural slogan. Also, I think because the Trump and RFK thing came together so quick, they probably didn't have time for any purpose-driven design choices. And again, okay, Trump's red, healthy's green, Make America Healthy Again. Boom, print out 100,000 of these things and send them out. Again, I don't think there's a lot of deliberation there. In conclusion, there's Trump waving from McDonald's. We get his red, white, and blue. Even when Trump did his McDonald's stunt, he still wore the uniform to the extent. It would have looked stupid if he was wearing a suit while he's serving French fries. So they just went the same next best thing. They put him in a blue apron. I don't even know if that's what the real McDonald's apron looks like, but that's what he went with. Kept his tie and kept his shirt. So in conclusion, Trump flags are focused on brand. The characteristics include a range of qualities. Some of them are common to political campaigns. Some of them are not. They're specific to Trump. The designs are basic, and it's probably because that Trump flags are used primarily to communicate inside of a group. This is what we were here to do today. I think we did it. That's my talk. Then I'm going to stop sharing. Have I stopped sharing screen?
No.
You're still sharing, yeah. There we go. I got it for you.
Did it go away?
Yeah, I got it for you there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. I think I saw Al's hand go up first, and then we'll get to Andy for questions or comment.
I'd like clarification. Nice job, by the way. Clarification on that red patch that you said was designed by, I think, a Norwegian medical soldier or
some surgeon, a woman right. did. There was reporting contemporarily at the time. I don't know, but that is
Yeah.
That seemed to have happened organically.
That's so what I'd like clarification on, US troops were not wearing that, right? Other troops were wearing that. Is that what I understand?
There are photographs of foreign troops and Iraqi soldiers wearing it. Might US Special Forces have worn it? I think it's entirely possible. There's pictures of Navy SEALs posing with Trump flags. I don't think it would be that big of a stretch.
So what I want to ask you military guys, would that be I'm guessing that would be a big breach of protocol if an American soldier wore that on any kind of uniform. Am I right?
I think it would be an issue if it was during a campaign season. Like, Americans can't campaign for a political party in uniform. I don't think it's illegal, but it's certainly a breach of decorum.
Okay.
Andy, I think you had a comment or question.
Yeah. So I had quite a few. I'll go with this one. I'm trying to think. So like, I'm born in '88, and no other candidate I can think of in my lifetime has had like a flag, or as you presented, like a variety of flags based around a theme or not. I'm wondering what you think makes his candidacy, both in 2016 and 2020, 24, unique in that respect. Like, why you think this candidate has adopted like a flag, or maybe his supporters have adopted the need or desire for a flag, whereas I've never seen that before in US politics. I've certainly seen it in foreign politics in the 30s. But yeah, thoughts on that?
I think and I agree with you. I mean, obviously flags are associated with candidates, right? Everyone, but the flag that they're associated with is the American flag. I think for Trump specifically, is because Trump intentionally branded MAGA. I don't know if there were earlier versions of MAGA that didn't work out, but the hat ended up being a type of brand. So from the hat, you get the flag, and because you get the flag, you're going to get all these other wildly uncontrollable. There's no quality control. The Trump flag is basically, as long as it kind of stays in the boundaries that I've said, and maybe there's some other ones as well.
But I would argue, I would say like, so the hat is definitely iconic as far as his campaigns go. But like the Obama Hope poster was iconic as well. But you never saw it on a flag, or even you never saw any form of that on a flag. They were happy to keep it a poster. I'm wondering why specifically MAGA didn't stay a hat where that stayed a poster. MAGA became a flag, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't know specifically where it made the jump. It probably made the jump very early on. I think it would have to. MAGA as a hat is introduced in early 2016. It was a very important part of the brand. The hat itself has evolved dramatically. It's a smaller hat now. There, you see the typical one is more of a baseball cap with larger MAGA letters. So you do see those kind of things in flux. But when is the precise day where a hat becomes a flag? I don't know. That's if I were to take this research further, I doubt that I will. That is probably the decisive point that you would need to find, and I bet it'd be pretty easy to find.
Nick is showing a picture on his screen of a flag, like an American flag defaced with Obama. But I honestly, that's the first I've ever seen that.
Yeah, it was made in Pakistan, so I'm not sure that the Obama campaign supported it.
Right.
I don't
think those weren't common.
Was that a flag?
Yeah, it was a plastic flag on a plastic stick, just made for the inauguration.
Okay.
Obama's first inauguration.
Sorry for interrupting, but before he got rid of that, I wanted to ask that. So go ahead. Andy, I think you were talking.
Oh, I was just saying, I mean, this may be largely a rhetorical question. It's just something that I wonder about, something that I think about from time to time. And this seemed like a time to bring that up. So
I think John's got a question.
Some comments and then some kind of personal reflection. Your presentation was visually very striking and very, very well done. I think you point to, in terms of a strategy of branding, I think you're right that it has been for years done quite brilliantly by Trump and by his supporters. I mean, there's no question about that. what I'm very frightened by. I'm scared in many ways. One of the things I'm seeing, go back to right after 9/11, you saw flags everywhere. But those flags were basically saying, we're standing firm. We're not going to be intimidated by attacks at the heart of New York City. We as Americans are going to stand united and fight that kind of terrorism. Same thing at hockey games, USA, etc. We have got to a point now, I think, and this is just personal, where flags are kind of like, this is our flag, this is what we stand for against you, the other side. Same thing for the chant USA. I am very fearful that we are at this point the most divisive since 1860. That's hyperbole, but it's scary. I'll give you one more quick reflection as far as the power of flags. I did youth work in Northern Ireland. I was in Derry in 73 and 74 at the height of the Troubles. And to this day, you could see flags in some areas of Northern Ireland, which is as part of the United Kingdom. They're flying flags like the Starry Plough. The Starry Plough is of Irish unification, and it was also one wing of the IRA. Those flags are flying to this day, and they make very clear what their sentiment is. That same kind of power of the flag we're seeing today in some instances, and it was never designed to be divisive, but I'm seeing a lot of division today in many communities. And you reflect on the fact that there's an enclave of those who supported Trump as part of a wider enclave of those who are adamantly opposed to Trump. I saw that in Northern Ireland. If you were walking on the Strand Road, you knew damn well that was going to be the Protestant area of Belfast. If you were on Falls Road, that was Catholic. We're seeing some of the same geographic characterizations, tribalizations that I saw in its worst case in Northern Ireland. So I'll say, I think the presentation was great. I think it was very well done, very effective. I think the campaign use of flags has been very well orchestrated. I'm also very concerned of the path we're going and where we may be headed.
Yeah, I think your comments are well taken. I wonder if part of the division is from just flag waving in general as an activity that human beings do. Just forget about, we know that there are certain European cultures that are flag wavers, and there are others that are not. In my research in Iraq, Iraqis are flag wavers. They love the Iraqi flag. They wear. I wonder if, and again, you'd have to figure it out. Could you visually go to a district that's electoral and just see who is flying the flag and see if that person is a registered Republican or Democrat? I would just deign to postulate here that there might be an association with just flag flying in general and conservatives.
But
I don't know if that's true.
I put the contrast though, post 9/11, there was you could never tell if it was being worn or carried by someone who was Democrat or Republican. It was sort of irrelevant. It was everybody really bringing out flags on be it on vehicles, by homes, etc., that were uniform, apolitical. We are united as a country. I'm not getting that now today, and certainly with USA or something chance. And I just think it's being used in a very different way than it has in the past, with exceptions like the Olympics, where it's apolitical. You've got people cheering on the American team, and that's absolutely apolitical. You'll see flag waving regardless of where you are in the political spectrum. But in many other instances, I think it's being interpreted markedly different than it used to be. Again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Again, 9/11 was 25 years ago. I wish it wasn't, but it was some time ago.
Right.
Also, you see that in Super Bowl as well, that you're starting to see a return to the Super Bowl to be largely apolitical. They dipped their toe in it. It didn't work. They're probably done with that. I think your point is well taken. If I were to, maybe I should research on this more. I think the problem is we'll end up being anecdotal, right? Like, okay, if someone's waving a flag, if someone is not waving a flag, are they not waving the flag because they find it objectionable, or are they not waving the flag because they're not flag waving people. I was at that March for Life demonstration in 2020. Very few Trump flags, very few. A lot of American flags, but very, very. Even though there was Trump iconography, I have that placard. And it's very interesting. I think the problem, just from a methodological standpoint, it's difficult to really pin down these attitudes among people who hold flags to be sacred. I think it's a very hard thing to do.
All right. Thank you, John. It's of course it's very, like, very topical. But I think that's right. I think with just the vexillological community, right, being able to talk about a topic in a very, like you said, objective way is extremely important. And I think, right, this is me getting posted to YouTube, so maybe someone comes across it and might be able to gain some knowledge from that, and that's what it's for, right? So different perspective, right? So if we don't have any more comments or questions, that's pretty much all we've got for today. So I'd just like to, Dale, yeah.
Talking about casket flags, I had a display recently of casket flags, and one of the flags in my collection is this one, which has really nice embroidery on it. And it says, flown at the dedication of the American Military Cemetery, Cambridge, England, December 7th, 1943.
Wow.
And it was presented to the Baltimore Orioles Memorial Day, 1956 by W.D. Bradley. And why would it be presented to the Baltimore Orioles is because they used to play at Memorial Stadium here in Baltimore. And by W.D. Bradley, he was in graves registration during World War II. I can't imagine the things that he dealt with, but he was a funeral director here in the greater Baltimore area. And part of my display is notable people who are buried in Cambridge. Joseph Kennedy, all right, John F. Kennedy's brother, Glenn L. Miller from I think he played the trombone during the swing era. And then a Major Leon Vance, who was a Medal Honor recipient. And all these three are on the wall because their bodies were never recovered. They were lost at sea in an aircraft or in a ship. So it just is a lot of interesting statistics. And I have a number of flags. I think I'll contact Anthony. Maybe we'll FaceTime and I'll show him some of the casket flags I have in my collection.
Yeah, thanks, Dale. So I jumped ahead a bit. So Zachary, so I know this is kind of a marathon, little bit of a meeting here. So Zachary's been very patient. I forgot to put him on my list, so I feel kind of bad, But Zach, if you're good to go to present, and if everyone else is still good to go, I mean,
yeah, good.
We'll still go for it. Yeah, I do again apologize. Forgetting you put you on the list there. So, but it's all good if you want to share the screen and present.
Yeah, it's no worries. As long as people are still sticking around and want to hear me talk, I'll be happy to talk. So let me share my screen.
The natural consequence of your name beginning with Z.
Yeah. Well, my last name starts with a G, so I'm either in the first or last, depending on how they sort it. All right, y'all see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Awesome. Good slide. And is it in slideshow mode now?
Yeah, you're good. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to just feel free to just ask it. No worries with that. It's rather quick presentation, but I just because I wrote a case study recently for NAVA about creating a college flag organization, and they posted it on their website under the flag study regional group. And I figured I might as well condense that down and use it as a presentation today. It might be fun, and I think the younger members love the presentation, but for anybody who maybe comes across this as a YouTube video, maybe listening to this presentation can be helpful for them for helping to create their own regional flag group. Obviously, I'm a member of the CBFA because I live in the region, but I go to school at the University of South Carolina. And since I can't make any of your guys' in-person meetings now, since I'm at school, for 3/4 of the year, I figured maybe I should try and create a club here. So I'm going to quickly go over my process through that, parts that I think are important. And then, like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to just butt in. So, introduction and motivation. So, for those of you who are in NAVA and get the emails, you may have seen this video, but I was asked by South Carolina Museum here, the Equity Museum, Military Museum, to create a informational video for them about the topic of flags and vexillology. They were having a informational American Flag Day where they had like design your own American flag, and they had like a flag hunt around the museum. And they told me that it was a pretty successful event and that people were interested in the video which I made, which made me very happy. But thinking about I just spent, a little bit in my day to go out and film this video, like a 3-minute video. And apparently a lot of kids enjoyed it. Made me think how easy it was to reach out to people, to talk to them about the topic of flags in a very easy, comprehensible, fun to learn about and fun to understand format, where even if you're not, super vexillophiles like us or vexillologists, but you're still interested in the topic, you can get to know about it. So I thought about this as well as about how NAVA has their online youth meetings, and also at both of I'm not sure about this most recent one since I didn't go, but at both of the NAVA annual meetings that I've been to so far, they've had new member lunches where some of the exec on NAVA will go out to lunch with some of the new people and they can ask questions and such. And this sort of made me think about how if there's anything more that I could do regionally in order to help contribute to spreading the topic of flags, since there's no regional flag groups in the Southeast region. They have the CBFA, and then there's a big skip, and it goes to Texas. And I'm not too sure how active Texas is, but I mean, I know we're pretty active, but I figured maybe I can fill in some gaps here in the Southeast. So when it comes to any niche topic that someone may be super passionate or interested in, it can be sometimes hard to convey that topic successfully to people who are completely unfamiliar with it, and to sort of explain to them why you find something in this topic so interesting and why you're so passionate in it. And but I felt that the more that I talked about flags with my friends, just it randomly coming up, or a lot of times they'll ask me questions about it since it's such a unique interest. A lot of the time they will see me passionately talking about flags, and then they'll reciprocate, or they'll look up their own stuff, or they'll continue to ask more questions. And so I think with any topic that you're really passionate in, that you do research in order to convey this message, it has to be sort of very simple, easy to connect with the audience member, but also they need to be able to see that there's a lot more to it than what you're initially saying, and that there's a lot that you can get into, just like the person who's talking about this topic has delved into. I do the same thing with I do research here at the University of South Carolina in nuclear engineering, and I mean, that's definitely an otherworldly topic to a lot of people. But when I go to like research competitions and stuff, and I'm presenting, I use the same sort of method where I do a very simple presentation, and I try to find things that can connect with the people who are listening to the presentation. And so since flags are everywhere, they surround us. There's a lot of avenues which you can connect flags to people's lives and make them interested. Maybe not as much as you are, but at least get some interest with that. So my goal was to provide a community that was fun, friendly, and welcoming, where any questions or topics about flags can be openly discussed. Like I had said, a lot of my friends would ask me questions, and I would have a lot of conversations about flags, whether I bring it up, but yeah, I wasn't always bringing it up. A lot of people were also bringing it up around me and they'd be like, yeah, Zachary, you know about this, right? So I figured if enough people were talking about it, then, maybe we could get maybe like 20 people in a club, maybe maximum. But it would just be something fun to do and something fun to talk about the university. So I want to create a welcoming and friendly environment for people to talk about flags. And along with this, since I don't know about any other college flag organizations, hopefully create a guide for other college students who would be interested in pursuing this. I know a couple people in NAVA or the CBFA reached out to me saying, oh, there's this, person who said he was interested. Maybe I sent him your information, so maybe you guys can connect. I've received, no emails from anybody, but maybe I'm getting a very, very condensed, like maybe less than 1 page version of my case study. My case study is 10 pages on the NAVA website, but Ted condensed it way down. And it's going to be just a very quick overview of this presentation. Maybe people who see the NAVA, not Vexillology, the Vexillology that comes out every month, they're in college, maybe they'll be inspired to create their own organization. That's sort of my guide, or what I wanted to do. Also, I wanted to show the importance of regional flag study groups. I really love the CBFA. I've only been able to go to one in-person meeting, but I try to make it to all of the online meetings, and I really love this community. So I wanted to show why maybe we need more of them in this country. So creating the organization. Universities usually pride themselves in having more and more organizations. It shows that there's a lot of on-campus activities that people can involve themselves in and therefore make new friends. It's a really good selling point. USC, I'm at the University of South Carolina, I think I mentioned that, has, I think, around 600 clubs and activities on campus. So they really encourage it, and they even have this entire process which you can follow in order to create an organization. It was very easy to get my friends on board with this because since it is a college organization, not like just a group of people trying to get together in an entire state, I'm constantly seeing them on campus. So I'm like, hey, would you be interested if I made this flag club? And they'd be like, yeah, sure, add me to the group me. So I sort of created a group me of everybody who was interested in helping to create the organization. And we needed a minimum of 7 members interested to be considered for our organization. And we had 27 members, which I figured was pretty incredible already, since I figured we'd get maybe 20 max people. When I was asking people if they would be interested, I made sure to emphasize that you didn't need the world's knowledge on flags at all. You just had to have an interest. You didn't need to know anything about vexillology even. You just needed to be interested in the topic, willing to learn more about it and to discuss it. That's all you needed. And we had 27 members begin. So the university required a set of bylaws, which I wrote. It was largely based off of the bylaws of NAVA and FIAB. It's almost copy and paste, except for the parts where we have to add in stuff for the university. Like, we're not going to like do these things. The university requires a bunch of clauses to be added to our bylaws. But for the most part, it's based on FIAB and NAVA. We needed at least a president and a treasurer, but we settled for the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, sort of elective officers. We had people run for the position, but it was only like 1 or 2 people running for each position, and we had like a group election, and everybody who wanted a position got in. So that was pretty fun. We created a set of bylaws, like I said, and we went through the entire bylaws that we wrote at our first meeting, and to make sure nobody had any questions. Some people added some ideas. Some people were like, well, we can just remove that. And so after that, we submitted those bylaws. I mentioned treasurer we needed because in order to have funding for any events that we wanted to do, student organizations can actually request money from student government. And if it's like for an educational purpose and it's like on campus and it's open to all students, then you can get funding for that event. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So our flag adoption, I'm sure this part most people would be interested in. This is our beautiful flag. There were 19 different flag designs submitted. I sent out in the group me saying, hey, if you're interested in submitting a flag design, please, make one and just send it out. And we had 19 different designs to look at, which is, I mean, pretty incredible. But what we did was everybody would present like the flag that they designed. They'd go up and talk about like what their meaning to their flag was. And then we had like an open Socratic seminar where people were like, oh, from this person's flag, I like this design, or from this person's flag, I like this design. So in the end, we settled on this flag. It was between 4 flags, and then that got narrowed down to 2 flags. And then you can see the vote here. 69% of the people, it was 27 members at that time, voted for that first design. And so we have the inverted chevron for vexillology. Almost every single regional flag study group had it, so we thought it would be fun to include. We have the garnet, white, and black. Garnet and black are the colors of the University of South Carolina. Then we have the palmetto tree, which is of course featured on the state flag of South Carolina, showing that we're in South Carolina region. And then our 4 stars on top represent our 4 pillars of our organization, which is to unite, collaborate, promote, and cultivate the topic of flags at the university. And those are in our constitution. So we thought it would be fun to include the 4 stars. But we wanted to include something that involved the university, the state, vexillology, and also unique to us being at the University of South Carolina. And I think we did an excellent job with that. All right, wide appeal of flags. So in media today, there's a lot less focus on the specifically scholarly aspect of flags. And like writing papers and research articles about flags. It's more general, collecting flags, flag design, general flag history. And so, like I originally said, I wanted this to be just an open club about flags in general. And if people were interested in specifically like the scholarly aspect of it, then they could talk about that. That's why I didn't want to include vexillology in our name. We settled on the Gamecock Flag Association. So Gamecocks are our school mascot. There's a lot of clubs on campus called the Gamecock something. So we figured Gamecock Flag Association would be nice to have. Like I said, we didn't want to make it seem like you had to have some prior knowledge or like an interest in like scholarly study in order to join this club. It's just a college organization on campus. It's something that you can go out to have fun and to enjoy yourself with and to talk to other people. I didn't want to exclude people thinking that this was like some sort of specific topic or you had to be interested in like history or something in order to join the club. And I think a lot of people preferred that. The name Gamecock Flag Association wasn't suggested by me. It was suggested by one of my friends in the group me. So, all right, it's a college organization. Like I mentioned, everyone's busy. Everyone has homework. Everyone has tests. Everyone has tests to study for. Everyone has projects. Everyone has end of the year senior design projects or presentations. And then when we're not doing things that are academically related, people are in fraternities, they're in sororities and other organizations. I'm in a professional fraternity. I'm in like 3 other professional organizations on campus. So I already have my plate full. But I still wanted to create this organization as something that was relaxing that people could go to because of personal commitment and personal investment, and something that they could go to and feel comfortable with and enjoy meeting new people and making new friends. Something that wouldn't be feeling like an obligation for them, but rather something they'd be excited to go at. Because if you're not going to be excited to go to an organization and you already have, if you're already involved in like 3 different clubs, plus you're in a very rigorous study, you're not going to want to join another club. I want to be inviting to all groups of people, regardless of background. So this is open to all majors. Again, like I said, I'm in STEM. I'm studying engineering, and that's completely unrelated to vexillology. I don't believe I've never heard of a vexillology engineering article before, but I figured there's no reason why we should narrow our scope. I wanted to have as many people, many different students who were interested in the topic, join the club. And I think that was a good thing because I'm going to show you some of our statistics that we got. I sent out a survey when we were about at 50 members at that point. We had about over 50 people fill out the survey, so it was very representative. But I want to go over some of those statistics. So here's the year and gender distribution. It's about half and half for gender, which I really liked. The school's about half and half, so it's fairly reflective of that. And then for the year, this obviously these statistics were from the fall, but now we have a couple freshmen, so it's actually incorrect now. So we do have freshmen representing us. We have the majority sophomores because I'm a sophomore, so I interact with the most sophomores around me. So they were the ones who could like spread it by mouth. They could be like, "Oh, I have a friend in our year named Zachary. You want to join his club? Here's the group me link or whatever." So that's the reason why we have mostly sophomores, but we also have freshmen now. And then we have about a third split between junior and senior. Major distribution. I found this to be very interesting. Obviously, I'm in chemical engineering, so the major that had the most was chemical engineers because I could reach out to the most people who were my friends. But after that, we have computer information systems, computer science, finance, and I believe the one on the bottom is biological sciences. So not, I mean, history majors in any extent, but these were people who said that they were interested in joining the club, interested in flags, and are now active members of the club. So that's with major specific. College-wise, a little bit under half is in the Molino Rowley College of Engineering and Computing. So that's because a lot of my friends are in that. But then we also have a bunch of different majors. So we have the College of Arts and Sciences represented. Dartmoor as the School of Business is represented. The College of Information and Communications, and then a couple other colleges that had like 1 or 2 people in it. The other is colleges that had 2 or less people and majors that had 2 or less people. Then this was what I figured was most interesting to me and would be most interesting to people trying to create a college flag organization was the knowledge and interest in flags that people had prior to joining the organization. So the prior knowledge of flags, majority of people had a knowledge of one. They did not know much about flags. But over half the people who joined had a prior interest in flags before hearing about it. They said that they were interested in the topic of flags and they wanted to learn more about it, but they didn't maybe have any avenues or didn't want to commit the time to it. I mean, it's just a small thing that you're just interested in, and sometimes you don't have the time to focus on that. But through creating this organization, we help create the time to be able to do that. So I figured this was maybe the most important part of the survey that I sent out. So all in all, we have 7 different colleges represented with over 30 different majors, which I think is pretty incredible. 14 of them are STEM majors, which also shows that if you're creating a college organization, you should be open to all students. Any student can be interested in flags, not specifically maybe history students or art students, like I stated. As I said, majority of students had no knowledge in flags, but they said that over half of them said that they were interested in flags. So I feel that the best way to help grow a college flag organization is to emphasize that there's no prior experience in flag knowledge at all, and to be widely accepting of diversity of thought and membership. And I've felt like we did a pretty good job with that, and we're still doing a great job. Meetings and growth. I'll quickly go through this. At our second meeting, we talked about some fun ideas that we had. We had a couple of Vexibit ideas that we could do at meetings, and we've done a couple of them already. So like presenting the history of a flag, creating a flag for yourself, of a flag show and tell. We had one member who designed a flag for her hometown, and she presented like the design aspects of that, which I thought was pretty cool. We have an ongoing state flag March Madness. So we had the we have all of the state flags in a bracket, and people like they go against each other. People vote on which flag they think or they like more, and so I forget who's in the final 4. Maybe I can pull that up after this, but we're on to the final 4 now. Surprised, I think South Carolina is in it, but people are biased. So we had over 20 members purchase 3x5 foot flags of the GFA flag, and they're hanging in all of their dorms or apartments now. I have one in my apartment because one of my roommates is also in it.
But sometimes I'll go over and hang out with some of my friends, and I can see it on their wall hanging up over their TVs or by their windows or something. I think that was pretty cool that we had that many people interested in buying a flag. We also had a couple of non-related flag ideas, like tailgating and a beach weekend. We're doing a beach weekend this semester, which is going to be really fun. We're going to be visiting Fort Moultrie in Charleston, which is where the first South Carolina flag was flown in that Battle of Fort Moultrie, and was shot down and raised back up by William Jasper for people who are familiar with that story. But we figured, hey, we're going to the beach, we're gonna have fun. Plus, we get this historical aspect of going to Fort Moultrie. And I remember at the NAVA at, I think it was 56 is the one that was in Florida. They had the NAVA flag flown over the fort. Maybe we can get our flag flown over the fort. I'm going to inquire about that, but we're planning on doing that this semester. We made a PR chair that made an Instagram for us. And we currently have a t-shirt design competition. So people are submitting t-shirt designs to her. And then like the PR, we have like a PR committee, which is going to vote on it. So that'll be pretty cool. We'll get shirts sometime soon. Then this, we created a brotherhood chair. This was kind of a joke, but fraternities here will have brotherhood chairs, which is like in charge of like social activities. But it's actually been pretty successful. We had a pickleball tournament. I have a photo of that on the next slide. And then we've also had like some movie nights. So that's been pretty good as well. And I think he's planning on doing an a GFA axe throwing event this semester, which might be pretty fun. But just
hopefully not during happy hour.
right. That would be pretty dangerous, I feel. But yeah, it's just, I mean, we're college students. It's just fun activities that we can do. But here's a photo of, this is all GFA members. We all had a tailgate together before one of our football games. We're SEC school, so football here is huge, but these are all GFA members. And then we also have some people who came out to the pickleball tournament, which was also pretty fun. But that's just photos from there. So you guys were talking about at the beginning of the presentation being a NAVA affiliate. Well, we are now a NAVA affiliate, which is pretty awesome. We had Ted K come on and as a guest vexillology speaker. We also had our very own Jack Lowe come on and talk about his interest in flags, which was everybody loved it. It was very enjoyable. But Ted suggested that we become an affiliate member, so we were like, yeah, sure, why not? I think that'd be pretty cool. Everybody on the NAVA executive board was like, yeah, and everybody who was in the GFA was like, yeah. So now we're affiliate members, which I think is pretty cool. And like I said, we're gonna get a article published, like a quick one-page blurb about creating a flag organization that I wrote in the upcoming March edition of the Vexillology, which will be pretty cool. And then once we go to Fort Moultrie for our beach weekend, I'll submit a quarterly update, which can be posted in the summer Vexillology. So now our website can be accessed through the NAVA website, through the Flags Regional Studies group, which I think is super cool. And it's also on the Flags of the World webpage. I talked to Rob Rayside about that, and he was very happy and very willing to do that. So now our website can be accessed through 2 different sources, which is good because it's a Google site, so it doesn't pop up like immediately if you look it up. So the GFA had, this is at the end of the fall, we had grown from 27 members to, we had 69 members at the end of the semester, which was insane. We had maybe 30 people on average coming out to all the events that we had, which was super cool. I never expected it to grow this large. I think Ted said, or one of the NAVA exec members said that we're now the 3rd most active flag regional study group in America, just because of our size and because we meet twice a month now. So I think that's pretty amazing. But shows maybe we should get more activity in the country, since I mean, 70 members is pretty cool, but we could definitely do better. We wanted to celebrate becoming an affiliate member. So we decided to have a banquet at the end of the semester, the week before finals. I figured it'd be all the people on exec were like, it'd be good to de-stress and have some fun with people before you start, locking yourself in a room till 2 a.m. studying. That's never fun. So at our banquet, we had free mini little 3x5 inch flags that we handed out, GFA flags that everybody got. We also had good flag, bad flag pamphlets that we handed out. I mean, we bought them, but because of student government, we can get reimbursed for it. So it was all free for anybody who attended. And then we also had a free Chipotle buffet, which is incredible. Everybody loves Chipotle, so. But we had over 40 people attend the banquet, which was the biggest showing so far, and I think that was pretty incredible. This is just a graph showing our growth. It's still growing as well. I'll update that at the very end. But here's a photo of some of the people from that. This is only 30 of the people who showed up, but we had people coming and going. This was just at the end of the banquet. But as you can see in the photo, everybody has a little GFA flag that they're holding, which I think is pretty incredible. And then we have the big GFA flag in the front. But it was a very successful event, and everybody greatly enjoyed it. So future and advice. So we currently have 74 members now, so we've only gained 5 members since the beginning of the semester, which is fine. We were really popular at the beginning of the semester. People were really interested. I figured it would level out like that graph showed, which is completely fine with me. Like I said, I expected 20 members. 74 is incredible. Members have expressed desire for more relaxed and interactive Vexibits like the ones that I mentioned. We're doing a flag outreach program, which we started, where we're reaching out to South Carolina communities that don't have a flag and asking them if they need any help in the flag adoption process. Obviously, we wouldn't be designing the flags. That's not any how it would work. It would be we could like help create like a design like committee, or we could help them with like the process of like outreach to the community to ask people for flag designs. And we have one city now that's actually we're talking with, and hopefully something comes of that. We'll see though. A lot of cities have a lot more problems on hand than adopting a flag, so it's definitely not in the forefront of their mind. But hopefully something comes of that. Obviously, we'll update in the Vex Zone with the new flags group if anything occurs from that. We have an Instagram page now, so any upcoming events that we have, we can post. And at the beginning of every year, there's a huge tabling event on South Carolina's Main Street, Green Street, and we're going to sign up for that. So hopefully we can get even more members from that. The importance of sort of this process that I went through, it shows the importance of these regional flag study groups. I think it's very important to have in-person interaction in any community, just to show that the people who you're talking to and discussing these topics with are real people who live around the country and are just as invested in this topic as you are. So my favorite CBFA event that I've gone to so far was the one in-person one that I could go to. And I love the NAVA annual meetings. Obviously, these online meetings are just as important, but I think being in person also shows, like I said, that these people who are also interested in these topics are real people and people who you can meet up with and have a good time with. I hope that the process that I took can serve as a guide to other college students who are interested in using their on-campus resources to create a college organization. I was going to say on that topic, like I said, the case study is posted on the NAVA website if people are interested in looking at that. And even if you're not in college, the members guide on the NAVA website is an amazing way to find out who is perhaps around you. Obviously, this isn't an issue with this group because we're already all in a regional flag group, but for maybe people who are reading it, who are, in the somewhere that doesn't have a flag study group yet, maybe there's going to be a Florida flag study group, for example. They see NAVA members who are in Florida and like, hey, let's get together like once a year just for fun. Hopefully that creating this organization can serve as a guide for them as well. That's all from me. That's my email and the Instagram handle. But if you want to scan this QR code, it takes you to our website. We have some of our past meetings uploaded there. And we also have just general information, our Constitution, the symbolism of our flag, just fun stuff like that. But that's all from me. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Zach, I'd say continuation of the free Chipotle buffet will be the #1 draw to continuation of memberships.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, excuse me, Zach. Could you please bring back the the what's that code?
QR code.
Screen
Oh,
it.
I didn't exit out of that. I'm not sure how that happened. I can reshare that though.
Thank you kindly. Please do.
There you are. You guys can see it again?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll just leave that up while I'm answering questions. So
Yeah, I
people can
think we have Jack, Al, and then John's got a question. Yeah.
whoever wants to go first. I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll go first. Zach, I just had two questions. First one was, do you sleep? Second question is, have you let the members of the GFA know about NAVA and CBFA so that when, for example, next time we have a CBFA Zoom meeting, some of them might be interested in coming on?
yes, actually. I let them know about the okay, so sorry, to answer the first question, no, I don't sleep actually. It's pretty terrible. But what college STEM student does? I mean, I'd be staying up doing work anyway, so I might as well do fun stuff with it as well. But for the second question, I'm really excited to say that we're planning a Seattle trip on October 10th. And we have, let me see, people will drop out, of course, as they learn they have scheduling conflicts, but we have 17 GFA members in a group chat who are all interested and committed to going to the Seattle meeting right now.
Wow.
Which is pretty incredible.
Wow.
And it's really convenient, actually. The reason why we could get so many people is that that's the same time as our fall break. So we're off that Friday, so people wouldn't be skipping any classes if we went to that meeting. So we're definitely going to have at least maybe around 10 people, but if we had 17 people come, that'd be incredible. We are planning on presenting. I'm not sure the maximum people who can present. I don't know if 16 or 17 people can present at a NAVA meeting, but if we're allowed to, all of us are going to present something because people express their interest in getting a published paper in the Raven for the South Carolina flag, since there hasn't been one yet, or there's been no published papers in the Raven yet on any South Carolina flags from what the research that I did. So members wanted to present and write a paper for that as well, so hopefully that can happen, and we can have a fun time in Seattle with whoever else in this group is going. But yeah, so I've talked about NAVA as well. And I mean, we're close to each other. So in the future, if the CBFA, GFA ever want to do a meetup in North Carolina or something at a halfway point, maybe we can, and we can talk about flags. I'm not sure who's asking questions. So
I think Al's next.
Maybe Al or John can go next.
I'm just real quick. I want to give you a big attaboy. I'm so impressed with the dynamic way you approach this and the result you got. And if even 10, never mind your 17, but even if 10 people from your group showed up at a NAVA meeting, I think that'd be the first time ever that a contingent came from any one source that was that many people. And it's so good for the field that you've done this. It's good for NAVA, if some of these people join NAVA or come to our meeting. So congratulations, great job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I agree, if even 5 people or 10 people can go out to the meeting, that'd be great. I don't think there's a maximum number of guests that you can have that you can add on to your payment for a NAVA meeting. So there's not a maximum member. We'll try to get as many people out as possible. But I am our vice president as well as also a member of NAVA. So the president and vice president are both members of NAVA. So we'll both pay for the full thing, and then we can add on, as many people that are interested in going and presenting as possible. I mean, I highly encouraged it to everybody, and people are interested.
All right, John's got his hand up for a while there, so
yeah. A couple of quick things. Great presentation. Kind of half tongue in cheek, but not necessarily entirely. when you become CEO, will you hire seniors? Just curious.
CEO of what?
I don't know. You choose. We'll follow.
Something, right? He'll be something. He'll be CEO.
But on a serious note, somebody else brought this up as well. I think that what's really important. You're a sophomore. You've got several more years. They're going to gain greatly by your enthusiasm and your experience in this. I think it's really important to maybe next year contemplate what's the strategic way of making sure there's continuity. When you graduate onto other things, we've all seen situations where someone has really been the driving force behind something, and when that person, for whatever reason, moved on, it just died because it really takes someone with the drive, the commitment, the desire to keep something going. It doesn't just do it intrinsically. It needs to have someone really being at the helm, driving it. So I would encourage you. And it's not too soon to start thinking of how there is continuity and succession planning. You're doing a fantastic job in your local area. This comment would actually be for CBFA and for NAVA in general. There's a term, sounds like a 19th century term that in the government was called stovepiping, where you had people that were actively involved in something. Another organization's doing the same thing in parallel, but they never talk to each other, hence the term stovepipe. It never goes beyond the specific organization. I think it's really important, whether it's our regional activity here or NAVA in general, to be mindful, especially now in the era of Zooms and in virtual communication, to be mindful of reaching out to others that are engaged in comparable activities so that we can find out what they're doing and maybe participate. They can find out what we're doing. Let me give a quick hypothetical. Let's assume Mystic Seaport in Connecticut is doing something that's been around for, I don't know, 100 years, 150. They may be doing a special exhibit and presentation on maritime flags going back to the 17th century. That might be really fascinating. We might not know of it if we were not hooked up with them, and they correspondingly might be interested in attending virtually some of our annual meetings or regional. I would highly encourage CBFA. I mean, Zach, you're already doing that. Find ways in which you can continue to hook in, but you're brilliant. You and your group are brilliantly doing that. CBFA and NAVA in general might want to think about, there's a Peabody Museum in Salem, Massachusetts. There are a number of organizations that have a broad history focus, and they may be focusing from time to time on flags that we might be very interested in. Correspondingly, they may want to know what we do.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And then to talk about the first segment that you spoke on, yeah, the reason why we really want to do this tabling next semester is to get interested freshmen, because like you said, it's good that there's not one person, who's driving everything. And I will say there's a pretty equal amount of drive amongst all the members, at least in the executive board, but not even. Also with our chairs and just members in general who are interested. It's very equal in people being invested in wanting to do stuff with the organization, which I think is amazing. But again, we only have a couple freshmen right now, so we need to make sure that people who are coming in as freshmen remain interested in it after, all the people who are sophomores, juniors, seniors who are all, driving this, eventually graduate. But thank you.
I think John was up next for comment.
Zach, just real quick. I've been in this world a little bit. Your ROTC department, I would reach out to them, because the function of ROTC on a college campus is flag related, and it is chock full of people that are natural vexillologists. I taught vexillology in the ROTC department at University of Maryland. People love it. So the synergy that is there. I mean, if you're going to table, you might as well table with them. See if you can get a table literally next to them. There's things that you can do. Chalk with them. I don't know if your university allows chalking, but like there's so many things that you can do to find natural allies that are just feeding your way in. And if just as a nickel's worth of free advice, don't talk to the officers because they don't care about this stuff. Find the student leadership. Go up to an Army guy, say, hey, can I battalion commander, whoever's in charge. I don't know if you know military stuff, it doesn't matter. But linking in with those people, because with the battalion commander, you get access to their email, list. And that's targeted people that are already inclined to like you. And you can probably explode just off of that. You got 3 branches. I don't know what the population is, but I would imagine the RTC department at University of South Carolina is quite large.
Yeah, it's a state university, so it is pretty large. I think we have a pretty good Navy ROTC, I'm fairly certain. But I know a couple of people who are in it, but I'm not that close to them. But I could definitely reach out to them and ask them about it. So thank you very much for that suggestion. I appreciate it.
I don't know the Army people there, but if you want someone just to kind of break the ice, just shoot me an email. I'm in the NAVA register, and we can do something.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right, I think Nick had his hand up next.
Thank you, Zachary. I live about an hour and a half from your Columbia campus, and I agree that the Southeast needs a local flag organization. If you could use me as an associate member, or I could make presentations similar to what I made today, or the one in Philadelphia, I'd be glad to participate.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, we had Ted K and Jack give presentations, but they were obviously virtual. So I think it'd be cool to have someone come in person and present something. I will say though, all of our meetings have been at 8 p.m. at night. That's when most people can meet because they're all finally done their classes. I don't know how you feel driving back and getting back around midnight to your house, but I appreciate the that offer. Thank you very much.
Yep. See you soon, hopefully.
All right, and then I think we have Christoph has got something.
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Firstly, hi. I just wanted to say I'm not a member of either association. I kind of invaded upon Andy's invitation. I hope you don't mind. It was a very interesting presentation, and I think somebody already asked one of my questions about future-proofing the association once you graduate, etc. But 2 more quick questions. Do you plan on joining FIAF?
I would love to join VF, but I don't know if they would take a college organization that's exclusive to college students. I can talk. I guess I can reach out to them. I know in order to apply for FIAF membership, it has to be 6 months in advance from their annual conference, and I don't think I'm in that range anymore, so I would have to wait till next year. But that might be fun, but it would hurt me to join FIAF and then we'd be a member for maybe 3 years. And then once, like you guys have mentioned, like the drive stops at the university, we're no longer a member of FIAF. I mean, that would hurt to only be an active part of that for 3 years. Also, I don't know if anybody here would have the answer to that, since I know a couple people have been to FIAF meetings, but do you have to have like an ambassador from your organization go to those international meetings?
So
I mean,
usually,
sorry, go ahead, Christoph.
Oh, sorry. Usually, firstly, when you go to the FIAF meetings, you do need to have somebody representing you there. I think once every 3 years at least. But you can also give your vote to someone, ask someone to represent you, which is acceptable. NAVA has some, FIAF has some requirements for membership. I think it's a written constitution, some sort of register, some stuff. It's all on their website. But from what you've described, you sound like or you made it sound like the association you're building is very much already has a lot of groundwork for this done. So I don't think that it should be that much more difficult to fulfill any FIAF requirements, at least from what you've described so far. I think you're very well on the way, if not already there. And my last quick question was, is there any way for non-members to get their hands on one of those flags?
Yeah, I ordered the flags custom made. So they weren't like from we don't have like a website or anything. But I ordered them from, there's a flag shop, a local flag shop in Columbia, South Carolina, which is where the university is. that I got all the flags at. And I got the large 3x5 flags just online shipped, and they were like $20. But the little handheld ones were a lot more expensive because it was a local flag shop. But if you're interested, if anybody here is interested in having a GFA flag just for fun, I shipped out actually to Jack in thanks for him coming and talking to our presentation. I'm not sure if he has it close by him, but I shipped him out one of the little handheld flags. But if you guys would like one of those, I can do another order from the local flag shop, and you can have a little desk pennant. So plenty of you guys are vexillophiles and would be interested in just collecting them. So just reach out to me. I can go back or
my prized possession.
So you're saying you do trades presentations for flags? I might have to consider something like that.
But yeah, just email me. That's my school email. You can reach out to my personal email. I'll comment that if I don't want to mix.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for your questions.
All right. Does anyone else have any comments, questions, things for the group? All right.
Great meeting today.
Well, thanks for sticking around, guys. I know that seriously was like a marathon. So I think, but there was a lot of good stuff on there in everything that I think everyone presented. And Zach, again, thanks for the patience and, me forgetting that you had a presentation there. So I think discussion was great. And if you guys don't have anything else, I guess we'll sign off.
Thank you, Joseph.
Really good. Went very well.
Yep, good job.
Thanks, everybody. Outstanding job.
Good to see you guys again. Thanks for organizing this.
Be
Bye.
well, everybody.
All right, Jack.
Bye-bye.
See you, Chris.